Okay guys, so my computer is really bugging out right now. And unfortunately it deleted the video I was working on. Granted, it's still mostly done, but I don't have a video to upload. Luckily I found one of my older videos and I got Stone to edit it for me. Link to his channel will be down below. Now I want to make this clear, this is not a remake of one of my older videos. This is just one of my older videos I had laying around that I never uploaded.
You know how sometimes people say something and there's a meaning beyond the literal interpretation of their words? Like if there's context or history or tone or something else behind their words.
You know how some people twist what other people say so they can have a point?
Like if I come up to you and say, that's a nice shirt, you can probably detect that I didn't actually mean that that's a nice shirt.
Or you know what they actually fucking mean.
Or maybe you and I are on a mission where we have given someone the codename of Hawk. When I say, the hawk is in the nest, you probably know I'm not talking about a literal hawk. I'm saying that the person has arrived. When we use language, we very often mean stuff beyond the literal interpretation of our words. When I say it's raining cats and dogs, I don't actually mean that pets are falling from the sky.
Yeah, that's true, but your example has pretty much nothing to do with what you're talking about.
So, with all of that in mind, it's important to know that the phrase, "it's okay to be white," is racist as shit.
Yeah, and apparently everything else is. Even saying the term marijuana is racist.
Stop saying marijuana. Why? Because it's racist as
Okay, understood. The term marijuana is, quote, racist as fuck. Good to know, because I actually didn't know that, and I'm willing to bet the majority of humanity probably didn't know that either. So assuming you are correct and marijuana was a racist term, it has since lost its power to hurt people and has instead, declined into a state of docile harmlessness. Good thing you're here to give it all the power it apparently lost, you sad child.
I know it may sound innocent to some of you, but it's a dog whistle. It's a phrase that would fly under most people's radar, but would signal to a certain group of people, in this case, white supremacists, that the person saying this phrase is one of them.
I always thought the term dog whistling was stupid. It basically means don't use this term because a bunch of bigoted people with magical ears like it.
The phrase, "it's okay to be white," recently gained notoriety thanks to the garbage can of the internet, 4chan. White nationalists and neo-Nazis on that site designed the phrase specifically to try and piss off people on the left and make white people look like victims.
Say what you will about 4chan, but at least they didn't try to push a girl into committing suicide because she drew amethyst skinny. Also, they have done a lot of good, especially exposing Burger King foot lettuce. There, I did the joke. Now stop commenting for me to say it.
They wanted a phrase that could embolden white nationalists while appearing innocent to the average person.
Well, they certainly pissed you guys off. It was like the most obvious trap and you guys fell for it. When someone says all lives matter in response to Black Lives Matter, you don't like it. And you have the easiest counter. When they say it's okay to be white, you should have said, it's okay to be anything. The counter was so easy, but you didn't take it. Instead, you freaked out and did exactly what they wanted.
They wanted to make the public sympathetic to their imaginary cause of white people as a group being oppressed. They desperately wanted to be victim.
Okay, how do you know that? Honestly, if it came from 4chan, they probably just wanted to troll a little. Now, I myself don't believe white people are oppressed. Maybe certain white people, but not most of them. But I do think poor people are oppressed. The media, which is owned by rich people, is just trying to get the races to not like each other. They do the same stuff in prisons, and during slave times. They fired their white workers and only hired a few of them to be slave drivers. That way the black slaves and the poor working class wouldn't work together. It wasn't white people who owned slaves, it was rich white people. But don't listen to me. I'm either a racist white person or a black Uncle Tom. Listen to Massa. The rich man.
And frustratingly, they've kind of succeeded. Flyers with the phrase have been plastered around colleges in the US. Some asshole was actually paid money to give an "it's okay to be white" speech at the University of Connecticut. And white nationalist Tucker Carlson cried about it during his segment on Fox News.
I don't watch Fox News. I don't know enough about the guy. I do know that white supremacists do like him, but that doesn't really prove anything. They also like the Washington State Journal. I did watch the Vox video on him, and I couldn't watch anymore as soon as they said immigration actually makes crime go down.
But this phrase actually has an even deeper history than just racist asshats gathering on 4chan. The Anti-Defamation League has found much earlier usages of the phrase, including in a 2001 song by a white power band, in white supremacist flyers from 2005.
Yeah, I'm sure white supremacists have used that term. And Gazi Kozo likes Black Lives Matter. But I'm not going to judge every person in Black Lives Matter by the actions of Gazi Kozo.
And a KKK member tweeted the phrase in 2012.
Really? One tweet by a KKK member? That's it? Yeah, and there was a gay neo-Nazi wedding one time. Should I judge gay people off that?
If this is your first time coming across the phrase, just know that it isn't the first time for Nazis and white nationalists. For them, it's somewhat of a slogan. It's a way for them to make themselves politically correct in a world that rightfully wants them to fuck off.
Funny, because I feel the same way about you and your group.
Like, okay, literally, word for word, with no context, it's okay to be white is true.
How about this? It's okay to be white and Black Lives Matter. I even tweeted that out. Oh, actually, I probably should have told you that last part. Now you're going to say that Black Lives Matter is a white supremacist group.
But knowing that it has more meaning behind it, knowing that it's a racist dog whistle, that should be enough for you to say, no, fuck this, fuck that phrase, it's racist and I don't want to have anything to do with it.
Yeah, the term "it's okay to be white" is so racist. I mean, white supremacists like it. They also like milk and PewDiePie. So you guys should stay away from those things at all costs.
It's really not that hard. Don't give these people the time of day. Don't get into an argument about whether or not it's okay to be white.
They're not trying to get in an argument with you, Riley Dennis. They just want to get a rise and a reaction out of you. And guess what? It completely worked. They didn't even have to try that hard. All they had to say was, it's okay to be white. Not good, not better, okay. If you described a movie as okay or a restaurant as okay, would that also mean you're saying it's superior? Okay is a 5 out of 10 at best.
Because that's not the discussion. Literally nobody is saying that it's not okay to be white.
Bullshit. There are so many people today who are white as fuck who are trying to be different races. Like the white, rosy-cheeked Native American guy on the BuzzFeed Native American Questions video, or Sean King, or Wolvicki. And literally no one's arguing that Black lives don't matter. Okay, now real quick, I just want to make this clear. I'm not saying that there are people who don't think Black lives don't matter. I'm just imitating Riley Dennis.
We're only saying that the phrase, it's okay to be white, is racist as shit. And what's frustrating about this is that the racists who hide behind this phrase know that context matters. They know exactly what bullshit they're pulling. Because when they see the phrase, Black Lives Matter, they infer a whole lot of context about that phrase. Because taken literally, Black Lives Matter literally cannot be offensive. It's just a statement of fact, and if you disagree with it, you're saying that Black lives don't matter.
Yeah, no shit. Your side pulled that before they did.
Which would be a really shitty thing to argue. But conservatives and white nationalists are often offended by the phrase Black Lives Matter because the context they take from that phrase is, and therefore white lives don't matter.
Yeah, I'm sure some of them do, but I don't really care. I'm not a conservative. And honestly, all lives matter in response to Black Lives Matter is a lot better than in response to it's okay to be white.
That's why people get so offended over the phrase Black Lives Matter, because they infer context from it. But, important distinction here, the actual context behind Black Lives Matter is Black lives should matter, but currently they are not valued as much as other lives. So there's just no equivalency between the two phrases.
Alright, I believe that on average black people, for the exact same crime as white people, tend to get more jail time. However, men tend to get more jail time than women by 6 times the amount. Yes, I understand that men do more crimes than women, but we're talking about the exact same crime here. Don't try to move the goalpost.
But I think this can demonstrate how people infer meaning from phrases that otherwise don't have a whole lot of meaning behind them because of context.
Well, it doesn't if you're an idiot.
For an example of how important context is, let's run through a hypothetical situation.
Count Dankula and his Nazi pug. That's a much better example than whatever you were going to say.
The people today who are saying it's okay to be white are the ones who ignore history and context and pretend that the phrase has no deeper meaning.
Honestly, you can do that with any word and it would work.
They're the ones who don't give a shit that you paid for their coffee because that was in the past and has no bearing on what's happening now. They believe everyone should pay for their own coffee, don't you? And don't try to muddy their argument by bringing in context.
And we shouldn't muddy your argument by bringing in, well, any counter-argument.
Or like, imagine how annoying it would be to have a friend who just constantly says it's okay for them to do stuff that is obviously okay. Like you sit down to play Mario Kart and they go, "It's okay for me to play as Mario." Like, okay, who said you couldn't? Or you're going on a walk with them and they say, "It's okay for me to be wearing shoes." Like, again, no one said you couldn't. At some point, it would get really fucking annoying and you would tell them to shut up. Not because it's wrong to play as Mario or wear shoes, but because they literally do not need to say it.
Well, your example doesn't make any sense because they're not constantly doing it.
It's that simple. People who tell you that it's okay to play as Mario or wear shoes or be white, they already know that all those things are okay, and they know you know it too. They just want to provoke a reaction out of you. They want to start conflict where none exists.
Again, you could make a similar argument for Black Lives Matter.
They want to be victims and to have all the attention on them and how hard life is for them because they're not allowed to just state facts.
You're talking about yourself and your group, right?
But like, I benefit from white privilege.
Oh, God, no. I don't want to do this. Please, no.
I'm not anywhere near being oppressed in terms of race. So when talking about race, I do anything but play the victim.
Yeah, but you play the victim in every other way. Hell, you think someone not wanting to date you is bigoted.
I admit that I am afforded benefits because of the color of my skin that people of color are not. That's an easy reality for me to accept.
Oh, really? Like what? Oh, you're not going to explain, are you?
But for tons of conservatives and white nationalists and neo-Nazis, they really just want to be the victim here. They want to manufacture outrage against white people so they can get sympathy.
No, they don't. Stop saying they do. It's just a small group of 4chaners trying to troll you. And you know what? They succeeded.
They want people to feel bad for them just because they're white. Well, the time has finally come, and this is going to be fun to say. Suck it up, snowflakes.
Riley, please, just stop. You're not good at this. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Sorry it was a day late, but yeah, my computer pooped out on me. But don't worry, the next video is not going to be a day late, because it's already pretty much done. Adventure Time is a pretty good show. I haven't seen every episode. Hell, I haven't even seen half of them. But from what I have seen, the show is very adventurous. I put the show right up there with Steven Universe and Gravity Falls. But unlike Gravity Falls, it has more than 2 seasons. And unlike Steven Universe, feminist and social justice warriors stay away from it.
Here's an idea. BMO from Adventure Time is expressive of feminism.
I spoke too soon.
Hey Jar, I hear this video involves BMO from Adventure Time. And since I do look like BMO, I should totally do this video with you.
No, Colt, I'm not going to let you be in this video with me.
Wait, what? Why not?
Because Shady Durags doesn't like you, and he finds you to be annoying, as do I.
So? That's one of your subscribers, and he's the only one who doesn't like me.
Yeah, but a subscriber has use to me, and you don't.
That's mean.
Never said I wasn't.
Right now, we're going to talk about BMO, who lives with Finn and Jake and is a thoughtful and sentient video game system. A surprising little gadget, BMO is made all the more intriguing because he doesn't have a strictly assigned gender.
That's cool. Neither do I. And do you know why that is? Because me and BMO are machines and we don't have biology. Well, technically I do because I have a human brain, and I really could check if I'm male or female by looking at the amount of gray matter and white matter. But I would rather keep that as a secret, even from myself.
BMO self-identifies as both male and female and loves other unclearly gendered objects. I wonder, could this make BMO a third-wave feminist?
No, of course not, and I'll give you 2 reasons why. Number 1, that wasn't the writer's intention. And number 2, BMO is actually likable. Remember when conservative Christians were saying, "Wow, this character is a really Christian character, with a lot of Christian values." Now it's feminists who are the ones that are doing that.
Now, before we get much further, yes, we are going to talk about feminism. Not about the role or effectiveness of feminism, which, for the record, I'm 100% and completely for, but
buddy, I don't think you should ever be 100% for a movement. Every movement has some pretty dark stuff. I'm against feminism, but not 100%. There are some people that are feminist who I actually like.
my support of feminism has nothing to do with this video.
No. You being a feminist has everything to do with this. You wouldn't be making this video if you weren't a feminist. This is just like a Christian saying, you know, this character is really representative of Christian values. And no, me being a Christian has nothing to do with me saying that.
But about how gender and feminist theory might be applied to BMO, and once applied, what the effects might be. Which brings us presently to a very important question. What is third wave feminism?
Third wave feminism is something that's even worse than the Tea Party. They constantly complain about non-issues like manspreading. And they like to take credit for what the first and second wave of feminism has done.
Well, let's work our way there. First wave feminism was focused on institutionalized inequalities, like women gaining the right to vote, execute contracts, or own property. Second wave feminism broadened its focus to cultural inequalities, the treatment of women as generally inferior or unfit for tasks outside of the home.
So what you're saying is, unlike third wave feminism, the other two waves actually tackled real issues.
Third wave feminism's approach is even wider.
Yes, they do cover more issues. However, the issues they cover are either so irrelevant they're not worth talking about, or they're made up. Talk about quantity over quality.
Where many current feminists felt second-wave feminism focused on white, heterosexual women, third-wave feminism tries to account for women of all backgrounds, ethnicities, sexual orientations, and genders.
Wait, what do you mean by that? Do you mean men? No, of course you don't. You're a feminist. You would never say that. I'm going to assume you're talking about trans people, but even then, a trans woman still identifies as a female. I don't think you need to say women of all genders. I think you just need to say trans women.
Yes, you heard correctly. Women of all genders. A central tenet of modern feminism is that gender is not as strictly embodied or experienced as our language or social structures make it out to be. The gender binary, that every person is strictly male or female, determined solely by their biology, isn't as straightforward as all of that. Something which David Bowie and Grace Jones clearly demonstrated in the 70s and 80s, but which for some reason we've distanced ourselves from. In Gender and Language, linguists Penelope Eckert and Sally McConnell-Genet say that it is our social world and not biology that insists on a binary classification.
Debatable at best. Humans are a sexually dimorphic species, and we have observed gender roles in other sexually dimorphic species. For example, many female birds will watch the eggs while the male will hunt. Or, with lions, the female lion will hunt while the male lion will protect the pride. Are you going to tell me that those gender roles are socially enforced?
And on the permanence of that classification. They explain that gender discourse is about connecting concepts of woman and man grounded in reproductive biological theory and practice to a wide array of other theories and practices. This can be sort of frustrating for people who want to do things a little outside of their gender role, like women who want to cut their hair short or men who want to carry tote bags.
I really don't understand it when feminists say things like, it's about time we start challenging gender roles. The reason why I don't understand it is because I think we're doing that now, with movies like Alien, Hunger Games, Mulan, and much more. This whole idea that there's no strong women in fiction is complete bullshit. Now, of course, there are many damsels in distress, but I'm so sick of movies and cartoons saying, this show has a princess, but she's not an ordinary princess, she's a warrior. It's not even special anymore. It's the norm. But
it can be downright imprisoning for people who do not feel the gender their biology has assigned them.
At least he said that biology is the thing that assigns them their gender. I really hate it when SJWs say, the doctor assigned them their gender.
A doctor took 5 seconds to look at your baby genitals and say, you are going to be this person.
But then again, neither do R2-D2 or Rosie from the Jetsons, and there is no question about their gender or what's expected of them based on it.
Are you saying R2-D2 is supposed to be male or female? Because honestly, you can go either way with R2-D2. R2-D2 is more like a dog if anything else. As for Rose from the Jetsons, well,
Similarly, BMO does not express feminism. BMO is not a feminist mascot, he is simply expressive of some feminist ideals.
Oh look, Steven from Steven Universe likes to help people out. He is really representative of Christian values. I guess this makes Steven a Judeo-Christian.
They should be banned on this man.
Oh, shit.
Now, he's not a Christian mascot, he's just expressive of some Christian ideas.
She is a silly little being who leads an awesome love-filled life with friends who think she is red hot like pizza supper, and oh, she might be male. Or female, or neither, or something else altogether. Whatever. No one needs to ask or challenge, and BMO doesn't need to defend because that is just who BMO is.
And BMO is a machine with no biology, so of course no one is going to question BMO's gender. It would be like questioning the gender of a microwave. I should probably stop. I don't want to give him some more ideas.
This is arguably the most forward-thinking thing about BMO's characterization by the creators of Adventure Time. By not radicalizing her gender situation, they make her totally normal, which she is. Well, except for the fact that she's a talking video game system.
Because there's nothing to radicalize. BMO is a machine.
What do you guys think? Is BMO expressive of feminism?
Good God in heaven, Ruby, there are just so very many ways for me to say this to you. Never, not in a million years, absolutely not. No way, Jose, no chance, Lance, and yet, negatory, nah, and of course my own personal favorite of all time, man falling off of a cliff. No! Dr. Cox?
I really hated this video, but not so much for the feminist stuff, more for the really bad theory stuff. But at least it wasn't those, the main character is in a coma theory. God, I hate those.
Wait! Wait! You're not going alone!
And right off the bat, I'm pissed off. This clothing is optional. Optional, Anita! It's not the main clothing. Shiva actually wears appropriate attire throughout the entirety of the game. But since she has an option like this at the end of the game, oh my god, we gotta shut down fucking Capcom.
Shut it down. Shut it down. Can't speak your mind anymore.
Now, since I know you... Here's Chris's alternate costume. Oh wait, it doesn't count because he's white and he has fucking pants!
Ooh, but I sure wish he didn't.
Ubisoft's 2012 game Far Cry 3 cast players as Jason Brody, a young white American man vacationing in Bangkok
She said Bangkok.
with his brother and their white friends.
Anita, I know how much you love to point out the shit that you hate, and in this case, white men. But newsflash, no gamer cares the color, the gender, or even the sexual orientation of the protagonist in the game. In fact, in Dragon Age, you can have a gay relationship with most of the cast, even with this fucker here.
Whoa, mama! I certainly would like to date that.
However, I like the tone you are setting with this. Brothers and sister all are white. It's fucking garbage, white people.
But their carefree fun comes to an end when a skydiving trip goes wrong and they all end up being kidnapped by evil pirates who, you guessed it, are not white.
Far Cry 3 takes place in the fictional islands of Rook Islands, which is probably based off the real Rook Islands in Papua New Guinea. And if you didn't know, here's a bit of small information for you. The inhabitants are not fucking white!
Good God, Autonomous Prime, we need to cover those female nipples up. Huh, cult is actually useful for something.
Yay, I'm helpful!
Wait, are you gonna say that Voz was a pirate so he couldn't be from the islands? But in fact, yes. Yes, he is. He is a damn native to the islands. That's mostly populated by non-white people!
Jason escapes and encounters a group of island natives called the Rakyat, who enlist his help to rid their island of the pirates.
Who are also black. In fact, that guy is way darker than Voz.
Ushering Jason into his exotic and exciting new role as a tribal warrior and white savior is Citra.
Lady, he was manipulated and forced to be a warrior. And how else was he gonna save his family and friends if he gets no help at all? He has no idea what lies on the island, but the natives do, and they're fighting the pirates. However, These people are the true enemy. And later on, you find out they're actually fucked up in the head. Every last one of them on that island.
A young woman who's viewed among her people as a warrior goddess. Under her guidance, Jason's adventure rapidly becomes an absurd hodgepodge of racist stereotypes about tribal cultures and brown women.
Could you state the racial stereotypes? Because apparently you don't list them out, so I don't know which one you're talking about. Is it the drug use? Is it the clothing? Because actual African brown tribes actually do this crap in the real life. So I don't know what the racial stereotype here is.
Come on, Autonomous Prime. You know that ain't true. It's just Halloween costumes that are making you think that way. My god, didn't you take gender studies?
At one point, Citra gives Jason a hallucination-inducing drink which leads him into battle with an imagined giant. After he defeats the monster, he's rewarded with a topless Citra, telling him that he's now part of the tribe.
You are Rakyat.
1. It is known that many tribes, even Native Americans, use drugs as a means for events or for tribute. Native Americans use tobacco. Some native tribes in South America and parts of Africa chew the leaves of the cocoa plant, which is cocaine. Even use hallucinogenics like marijuana and even salvia.
Autonomous, all this talk is making me, I'll be back in a second.
So drug using is part of tribes. And 2, sexual rituals are real and are still happening, and some of them are immoral, like child brides or genital mutilation. It's not a racial stereotype if it is continuing to this day.
Whoa. Okay, Autonomous. I'm back. What are we doing again?
Why do you think there is a drug lord there? That's probably their base of operation because there is a shit ton of drugs there.
Wait. There is? I know where I'm vacationing to next. What are we doing again?
And the means to make it, like plants. It doesn't just come out from the fucking ground. They don't use chemicals. They use the natural plants. It's probably pure.
Citra's strange mystical powers return later in the game.
She doesn't have strange mystical powers. She has drugs.
But how can mystical powers not be real if drugs aren't real?
Jar, have a Snickers. You're not you when you're high. Better?
Better. Wait, how did a Snickers bar stop me from being high?
There's something in it to help balance the chemicals in your human brain.
Well, it's a good thing you showed up when you did. This high joke was kind of getting old.
This high joke stopped being funny when you started it.
Blows a glowing dust into Jason's face.
It literally states in her wiki, she blows a natural jug in powder form in his face. So yeah, the tribe is using drugs.
Yes, but do you really expect Anita to do research? I mean, it's not like she spent months working on this video.
Triggering another hallucinatory sequence that culminates in the game-ending choice: to save Jason's friends and leave the island, or to do Citra's bidding, to savagely kill his friends and stay on the island with her.
So if this did not show you she was evil in the first place, this is how most Far Cry games are. The people you are with are just as bad as the main people you are going against. Far Cry is a lose-lose situation game here. Either get off the island filled with drugged-up crazies, or stay with the crazy woman who ends up killing you.
If players choose to murder Jason's friends and stay with Citra, a scene plays in which the two of them have sex. Then she stabs him while stating that their child will become the new leader of the tribe. I guess those mystical tribal powers of hers just immediately let her know that she's already pregnant.
I'll be yours.
Or she's drugged out of her mind. Or she's fucking crazy.
At least Anita taught me something new. When I played Far Cry 3, I actually saved my friends. I'm glad I actually got to see the alternate ending. I was too lazy to look it up.
On one hand, Citra is yet another example of a female character whose sexuality is presented as a motivator and reward for the presumed straight male player.
Holy fuck, is this wrong?
She wasn't a reward. She was a manipulative cunt and psychopath who ended up killing you at the end if you chose her over your friends. But hey, the one who tries to kill you is actually Dennis, and she jumps in the way to get stabbed to save your life. If you go with your friends, cause they're all fucked in the head.
But not as fucked in the head as you, Anita.
But there's something more insidious happening with Citra. Her body paint and magical powers suggest
she does not have mystical powers. She just has drugs and hallucinogenics. Those are nothing but war paint. Most tribes have these, even Native Americans today. You see what happens when you try to push people out of other cultures and not learn about them? You look like a stupid fucking moron, Anita.
Hey, moron! Fucking moron!
she practices some sort of tribal mysticism, which also roots her in a long-standing tradition of racist stereotypes.
How is contributing to your own culture racist? Is it because game devs did research with real natives and tribes because they must be fucking white men? Fuck off, Anita. It's now racist for native tribes to do what their culture states they should do.
These elements of sexism and racism intersect.
It's not just sexism and racism, it's intersectional sexism and racism.
Turning Citra into a stereotype of an exotic, primitive, mystical, savage, sexualized woman of color.
Anita, she was manipulative and crazy. I know you don't ever play the games because I know you don't do it. So if you actually picked the fucking controller up and played for a few hours, maybe you would have had something, but you don't because you don't play video games. We do not care about their color of their skin, their sexual orientation, the gender they have. Unless it's a good game with good story and good plot, which Far Cry 3 was far from it. It was actually a shit game. We don't care.
The only time we do care about a race in a game is if it's a made-up race, like the Argonians or Khajiits. But people like you would just complain that Nords wearing orcish armor is cultural appropriation.
This linking of sexism and racism is an example of what's called exotification. Exotification occurs when a group is treated as inherently different, alluring, and strange.
Like a lamb to the slaughter.
First off, get the Duke out of your shitty commentary, and two, that's just what happens when you go to a different part of the world. Even England has that effect. Hell, British women are considered exotic, you daft bitch.
Also, are you really using a movie from the 1950s? I noticed a lot of SJWs do this. They take a really old movie and point at it and say, look, that's representative of our culture now.
For instance, when certain white men falsely view Asian women as inherently more obedient or submissive than women from other cultures and sexually fetishize them as a result of these false notions, those women are being exotified, and their race is falsely depicted as the defining aspect of their character and personality.
America, so far away.
Okay, first off, they are not being submissive. They've been taught to be good hostess. If you actually dabbled in other people's cultures, you would have known this, Anita. And please, don't tell anyone the story how the main character was mistrusted by a majority of the Japanese people and even told to not sell him food. However, do you even know what a geisha is? They are hostess in a wide variety of skills from dancing, singing, poetry, gaming, and even highbrow conversations. It takes years to become a geisha, and they take this very seriously. And to tell you, Anita, there are even male geishas, because at WW2, they were forced by their government to go into factories, and when it was over, most went back to keep tradition and their culture alive. Anita, you are confusing traditions and cultures with your backwater think of racism.
But autonomous, don't you know? That's not what their real culture's like. That was just created by the Americans. Their real culture's actually like, well, it's like, I don't know, SJWs never explain what it is. But it has to be different from this.
Not so far away that I'll forget you.
Aww. For the purposes of this episode, we're focusing specifically on racist stereotypes of tribal and indigenous cultures.
Because God knows that's not real. They don't practice this in the real world. There's nothing like that. It's only racial stereotyping of real people.
But it's important to note that women of color from any background can be, and often are, stereotyped and exotified.
Like I stated before, even British women are fantasized about.
Even people from different states are exotified, like those hot blonde surfers from California.
Sometimes black female characters are exotified entirely through clothing that simultaneously sexualizes them while also evoking racist stereotypes.
I'm just gonna put this right here.
2009's Resident Evil 5 introduced a new character to the series, Sheva Alomar, a Bioterrorism Security Assessment Alliance agent who joins Chris Redfield as he confronts an outbreak of infected in a fictional region of Africa.
And she was a complete badass throughout the entire story. Can you please tell me what the problem was?
The first time you play through the game, Sheva looks like this. However, once the story has been completed, if players also collect all 30 BSAA tokens scattered throughout the levels, they unlock a new outfit for Sheva called the Tribal Costume.
So, not only is it optional, but it's a challenge to get. In other words, you have to work hard to get her in that costume. Basically, what you're saying is if you want to be sexist in a video game, you have to work hard at it.
Equipping this outfit takes Sheva, who up until this point has been wearing somewhat practical attire for the work she's doing, and shoves her into a leopard print bikini top and a few tatters of fabric around her waist, while also applying paint markings to decorate her face and body.
Anita, go to the corner. I've already told you about this. I even showed you Chris's alternate costume. They both have alternate costumes, and this is just one of them. And like I said, it was optional.
And a challenge to get.
In Hyrule Warriors, the villain Sia is one half of the spirit of the original sorceress, a noble being who watched over the balance of the Triforce. When the evil Ganondorf drives the light from the sorceress's soul, she splits into two, with her virtuous half becoming Lana, who, like the similarly righteous Link and Zelda, is fair-skinned.
You say that like it's a bad thing. Oh wait, it is. Fuck white people, right?
Well, the game was made by evil white people. Oh no, wait, it wasn't. It was made by the Japanese.
Meanwhile, her evil half becomes the darker-skinned Sia, who casts dark magic, wears an extremely sexualized outfit, and whose body is adorned with markings reminiscent of tribal body paint.
So fucking what?
So, what you're saying is, if a hero wears tribal body paint, it's bad, and if a villain wears tribal body paint, it's bad. So basically you're saying that no one can ever wear body paint, right?
These differences between Lana and Sia, two halves of the same being, directly link the color of their skin to their goodness and virtue.
People associate dark things with evil and white things with good because people are afraid of the dark, and things like sun and fire produce heat, which people need to survive. This is why this concept is so common across a variety of cultures. However, they're not saying that because someone is darker skinned, they're going to be evil. And if you think they are, I have one thing to say about that.
Citations are convenient.
Falsely suggesting that a lighter skin tone reflects a purer, more noble spirit. In reality, lighter-skinned women of color are often depicted as more desirable and more virtuous because they come closer to meeting the culturally dominant white beauty standards.
No! No! Fucking no! And furthermore, why?
This insidious notion that a darker skin tone reflects a less moral or virtuous soul is hardly new to the Zelda franchise.
Also, the second main villain in Twilight Princess was white,
in which the heroic and noble characters like Link and Zelda are fair-skinned, while the recurring villain Ganondorf is associated with the darker-skinned Gerudo people.
His skin is fucking green. That's why when he becomes Ganon, he becomes a green pig monster.
He's also a redhead. Are you going to say that Zelda perpetuates the stereotype that gingers don't have souls?
He's a ginger! He's a ginger!
In Diablo 3 there are 6, soon to be 7 classes to choose from, but only one of them is represented by black characters, the Witch Doctor.
Because most witch doctors are black.
By that same logic, wizards are a racial representation of European people. You're a racist, Harry.
Employing just about every visual stereotype about tribal warriors in the book. Elaborate piercings, skull masks and body paint, and carrying voodoo dolls and shrunken heads as items of power. The witch doctor is a caricature of tribal identity rooted in centuries-old racist imagery that has no place being perpetuated in the 21st century. And this is nothing new. Harmful, ignorant, racist stereotypes have been used in the design of supporting characters and enemies in games for decades, and often the result is female characters who are both sexualized and exotified.
Have you come to kill me?
Yeah, but so are European women and Northern women.
It's no secret that fighting games often feature sexualized female characters, and often feature characters whose design is rooted in ethnic stereotypes.
Yeah, but Street Fighter is pretty much evenly racist across the board.
Sometimes these two elements combine in sexualized, exotified female characters. In Street Fighter 4, Elena wears, well, she wears almost nothing. But the bands that she wears on her arms, legs, and neck vaguely suggest African tribal culture.
Because they do it! How are you this mind-numbingly thick-headed that you think that no tribes wear this shit anymore?
And she possesses that stereotypical character trait of a mystical connection to the earth.
Because that's their belief! Most tribes have multiple deities that have something to do with the earth itself. And did you also know she has a doctorate in a French university?
Also, almost all of the characters in Street Fighter have skills and powers that are very representative of their culture. For example, the main character Ryu can manipulate his own energy, and energy manipulation is very common in Japanese folklore.
I'll show you my dance. You ready?
All these stereotypes are anything but harmless. Here in the United States, racist images and stereotypes of black women have been doing tremendous harm for centuries.
Whoa, wait, hang on. You do realize they are basing this movie on shit that actually happened, right? How is that a racial stereotype? African women were raped by many of their owners, punished them as well. How is this racist? None of them had a fucking choice or say in the matter.
And if we didn't make movies about it, people would be complaining saying, "You're trying to cover up the white sins of your ancestors. You're trying to pretend like slavery never happened." It's another one of those doomed if you do, doomed if you don't situations.
In fact, false ideas about black women as inherently hypersexual beings were perpetuated in Southern slaveholding society. This was a time when oppressive Victorian ideas still held sway, creating a false sense of womanhood as inherently domestic, submissive, chaste, innocent, and modest.
Anita, they had no choice. Most were savagely beaten if they fought back. Some did it to survive or get a reward from their owners. That shit they did either had no choice or had to do it in order to stay alive. It was bad. And Anita, you're going off a little bit off course. You're supposed to be challenging video games, not movies here. Or did you not find enough material for this video?
Let's pretend like black women were no longer sexualized ever. Guess what? You would be complaining about that saying, "Oh, come on. Black women can be sexy too. This is just a patriarchy trying to push that white people are the beauty standard."
But the reality of black women's lives as slaves was irreconcilable with these notions. Not only were female slaves, of course, denied any and all basic rights as people, they were also often forced to be naked when on display at auctions, were regularly whipped in partial or total nudity as punishment, and were frequently sexually assaulted and raped by their owners.
Yes, Anita, that's what I've been trying to say. So how is this a racial stereotype then?
In her essential book, Sister Citizen, Melissa Harris Perry explores how myths about black women's sexuality were deliberately perpetuated by white people as a way of rationalizing their cruel and dehumanizing treatment of female slaves.
Because back then they were property. You could legally buy someone back then. There was no justification of it. They were things. So they will use them as they please. Either back-breaking work or rape them in the corner!
The myth of black women as lascivious, seductive, and insatiable was a way of reconciling the forced public exposure and commoditization of black women's bodies with the Victorian ideals of women's modesty and fragility. The idea that black women were hypersexual beings created space for white moral superiority by justifying the brutality of Southern white men.
Anita, we know there is no justification for this mistreatment. Are you stating we are harboring these feelings towards black women? And we want to own them once again? Are you fucking out of your fucking mind?
Slavery is a pretty stupid system. Even if you take out all the moral stuff, slaves run away, they try to slit your throat at night, you have to take care of them, feed them. It's just a dumb system. It's much more practical to hire a servant. And this is why I don't think slavery will ever come back in the USA.
These false, harmful stereotypes and their tragic impact have remained alive through the centuries and into the present day. Throughout most of American history, up to and including much of the 20th century, the sexual assault and rape of black women by white men was almost never treated as a crime.
Calm down, Autonomous. Don't lose your head.
Boo, you suck!
But in all seriousness, whenever a feminist talks about rape, it's usually false.
In her book, Dark Continent of Our Bodies, historian Frances E. White says, "Virtually no legal protection was provided for women who were portrayed as loose and licentious. Under such conditions, black women, promiscuous by definition, found it nearly impossible to convince the legal establishment that men of any race should be prosecuted for sexually assaulting them. The rape of black women was simply no crime at all."
Yes, and that's going to be a stain on our history. However, you're stating that video games are now perpetuating that this is going to happen again because of video games. Are you out of your fucking mind, Anita?
Obviously, the problem here is not with the idea of representing women who come from tribal cultures. Our media absolutely should reflect the cultural diversity of the world we live in.
Then why did you make this video?
But that's not what characters like these do, at all. These are not respectful, well-researched representations of actual cultures.
To you, Anita! To you! Apparently, when there are tribes that have body paint and go around literally half naked or naked, should not be applied to video games!
Anita, I've seen your videos. You're not one to talk about poor research. Second, I've seen you talk about games you like, and honestly, they have the same problems as the games you don't like. The only difference between the games you like and don't like is exactly that. The only games you give a pass are the games you like. That's it.
Rather, they represent a form of cultural appropriation, when a dominant culture exploits and often profits from the history, culture, or traditions of a marginalized group. Like a white person putting on a sombrero and a fake mustache, grabbing a bottle of tequila and saying they're going as a Mexican for Halloween.
Go fuck yourself, Anita! Cultural appropriation is bullshit! Do you understand that? It is bullshit! By trying to separate us from our cultures, you are diverting and therefore limiting understanding. You are the problem here, Anita, not us!
Oh no, there's an Asian man dressed up as a cowboy. Oh no, there's a black man dressed up as a Viking. Remember when a whole bunch of American SJWs were complaining about Ghost in the Shell and how the main character was being played by a white person? But then they interviewed actual Japanese people and guess what? They didn't give a shit.
These offensive and embarrassing depictions reduce rich cultures down to a few stereotypical signifiers.
Those are just costumes. They don't really think ill of them, okay? Now, if they had blackface on, that would be a totally different thing. They would know better, okay? They know better.
Mystical powers, skimpy, tattered clothing, body paint, and racialized hypersexualization are used as shorthand for exotic.
They have no mystical powers. Until they start spewing fire from their hands, maybe so. And body paint? That is tribal. That is part of culture. War paint, body paint. It's supposed to be there. And skimpy clothes? Have you seen African tribal clothing? Some of them don't even have any tops. In fact, this is more covering than the ones in real life!
Anita, do you want these people to be in jeans and a t-shirt? I know there are many people in Africa who do wear that, but it's kind of bland. Yeah, many Americans also wear jeans and a t-shirt. But people don't want to see that in a video game. They want to see a cowboy or an American soldier, or at least something that has to do with American culture.
As a result, these signifiers reinforce extremely false and damaging stereotypes about the people and cultures that they're appropriating.
Black people are appropriating their own culture.
These false, harmful myths and stereotypes continue to contribute to the marginalization and oppression of women of color in America today.
Please tell me how a video game does that, Anita.
So many people think that fiction has a huge impact on reality. And while it does have somewhat of an impact, reality has a much, much greater impact on fiction. I'm really sick and tired of people saying, "Oh no, you can shoot people in this video game. That will make school shooters in real life." I'm going to come to the conclusion that school shooters didn't exist until video games.
For instance, in her book, The Politics of Disgust, feminist theorist Anne-Marie Hancock
She said cock.
discusses how racial stereotypes about black women contribute to a political system in which the marginalized continue to be underserved, oppressed, and unheard.
If you do not listen to her, your event will be shut down right now.
All right, so we are trying to be reasonable. We are trying to be reasonable. We are trying to be reasonable.
We are reasonable.
We are trying. We're gonna give you. We're gonna let you on the mic. We are gonna give you the mic.
Let us speak.
We will after Senator Sanders. After Senator Sanders. After Senator Sanders. After Senator Sanders. After Senator Sanders.
Do not tell me what to do.
After Senator Sanders.
Sit down.
After Senator Sanders.
Sit down.
Okay. All right.
Let her speak.
All right.
Let her speak.
All right. We're shutting it down.
We very rarely see portrayals of women of color in games that incorporate the cultural history of those characters in honest, respectful ways.
What culture does Alice have? You can change her race to anything and it would fit. Tell me, what culture is Alice from? Oh my god, I just realized something. You do want them in jeans and a t-shirt.
In many ways, Alex Vance from Half-Life 2 and its follow-up episodes is a great character, and it's good to see a non-sexualized woman of color in such a prominent role.
You're acting like she's the only one. Why are you acting like she is the only one? Please tell me, why are you acting like she's the only one?
But the game isn't concerned with her cultural background.
Because gamers don't give two shits about someone's racial background. We care about story, plot, and gameplay.
And lore. But if you were in charge of that, you would just have all the races in Skyrim wear jeans and a t-shirt.
Nilin, the biracial protagonist of Remember Me, is a sexualized female protagonist, but the sexualization doesn't employ racist tropes. Like Alex, her cultural background is treated as irrelevant.
Anita, why are you bringing race into this? No one cares about your fake diversity. No one cares of her being half black, half white. No one cares. And apparently, since you did not find a real problem in it, she is too sexy now.
Unfortunately, there aren't many positive examples of women of color in games whose cultural history isn't erased, but also isn't presented as the stuff of racist stereotypes.
I could sit here and give you an entire list right now. But every gamer already knows you're full of shit, and every gamer knows they can point one out. However, you'll say that they're appropriating culture and it's misrepresenting out of your ass because you're full of shit.
And that's a shame, because characters whose cultural background is incorporated honestly and respectfully can work to challenge the deeply racist status quo.
To you, Anita. However, you'll keep finding problems and you'll keep making these videos every 2 years. So basically, the only solution that we're going to have is to get rid of females and any other race other than white out of video games. And even then you'll bitch about it. You'll find something to bitch about it. You will find something to bitch about it because you're not happy. You'll never be happy. until it cows down and cater to your every whim. You will be not happy until it's in your clutches.
And even then you'll find something to complain about. If you made a game yourself and found it later, you would say, "Oh my god, this game got corrupted by the internalized misogyny I had back then."
We're at least seeing some improvement where black male protagonists are concerned. Though they're far from perfect in terms of representation, 2016's Watch Dogs 2 and Mafia 3 center black male characters and acknowledge black identity and structural racism as aspects of their characters' lives.
You do not give two shits about them, okay, because they're men. And yeah, Mafia 3, there's no such thing as black gang violence, and there's no black gang members. No, that's not real.
Black on black crime just doesn't exist.
Mafia 3 does feature a supporting character named Cassandra, a woman of Haitian heritage whose background is very important to her character. Cassandra fights the entrenched Italian mafia and their racist brutality against the poor black citizens of the game's fictional southern city.
Because back in their time, there was a lot of racism, not like today, but there was so much more back then. And I don't care about her cultural background.
The game 1979 Revolution doesn't center a woman as its protagonist, but in telling the story of the Iranian Revolution, it illustrates how games can introduce players to new cultural perspectives in ways that are respectful and compelling, and that work to counteract stereotypes rather than to reinforce them.
We are a nation of equality greater than Western capitalism. We are a nation of equality greater than Western capitalism. Greater than Western capitalism.
So respectfully representing their culture is making them look like complete delusional idiots?
Oh yeah, I can see why you like this game.
One game with a female protagonist that does an excellent job of incorporating a character's cultural history and traditions is Never Alone, which stars a young girl named Nunya, a member of the Inupiat people of Alaska. Folklore and traditions of the Inupiat are incorporated throughout the game in a respectful way that enriches the player's understanding of these people and their experiences.
Because the game is based on their culture, not rather like a fantasy fighting game or a fantasy. You're not going to see an Eskimo in short shorts and an overcoat. Seriously, Anita, stop it. We already have tons of games like this. Yet you're stating like we don't have any of them. Because look, we'll call out a game for being racist and having racial stereotypes, okay?
Sonny, who took care of the plants and the animals.
What? And was also a very racist depiction of a black person. This game was approved by Sony with that in it? Nice call, guys. Really good one. Also, maybe, next time don't take too much fashion advice from Uncle Sam and the Harlem Globetrotters.
This kind of respectful treatment of cultural history and traditions should be the norm.
You're right, Anita. It should be. And it is.
But instead, games more often just plunder marginalized cultures with no sense of respect and no concern whatsoever about accurately reflecting the people and traditions they're appropriating from.
You know why that's not going to happen? Because it's not going to be fun. If they can't step on anyone's toes or do anything, they won't do it. In fact, they'll probably just get rid of it. So it will just be only white men and maybe white women. No more black people, no more any other racial minorities in video games. There, you happy, Anita?
To put it simply, it's not okay for games to reduce these cultures to stereotypical costumes and personality traits in an effort to add a bit of exotic flair to their worlds.
Anita, outside of your hug box, who is really offended by this? Are there a whole bunch of different cultures sending the game developers angry letters? And is it your place as a rich white person to get offended on their behalf? To everybody who's watching this video, comment down below if any of these video game depictions offend you. Well, aside from the obvious one.
It should not be too much to ask for and expect representations of people of color whose cultural backgrounds are acknowledged and woven into their characters in ways that are thoughtful, validating, and humanizing.
And I'm going to tell you, no one cares. Hell, you'll find black people cosplaying these very characters that you're saying is very harmful towards the black community. So degrading. Because you're not the authority here. We are. So, how about you get the fuck out, please? And take that almost $1 million worth of funding with you. You know, the one you've stolen from your backers, and you're not going to refund them, and Kickstarter's probably not going to tell you to refund them. and now your non-profit organization's funding is going towards political, which is against the law. You know what's also amazing? You haven't brought up a Horizon Dawn Zero. You know, for cultural appropriation, the dreadlocks, the tribal paint, looking like a native tribe. I can't believe you didn't say anything about that. You're getting off the ball. And I'm going to play that game because it's interesting. Not because it has a female protagonist or whatever bullshit you're going to come up with on your next review.
What's up?
Hey.
Collab?
Sure.
BoJack Horseman?
Why not?
Skit?
Absolutely not!
Hey, hello, how do you do? Shady Rex here. I'm known for talking about BoJack Horseman as well as other animations. And today, I've broken into Jar's house so we can talk about this video.
First, for a little context.
It's a video, and we don't like it. The end. Let's get to the commentary.
We've talked about a lot of BoJack Horseman theories, from death to heartache to childhood trauma. But honestly, this theory needed its own video. This horse might be gay, y'all! I'm Winnie Van Linningham, and today we're exploring the theory that BoJack Horseman is in the closet.
Now, I want you to pay close attention to what Winnie is saying. This theory needed its own video. There's some insinuation there that, for some reason, the possibility of BoJack being gay just needed to be talked about. Generally, when I hear something like that, I conclude that the evidence supporting the theory is so strong, yet the theory itself hasn't been confirmed yet, like the Sarah Lynn stepdad theory. But, as we're about to find out, that's not the case, and this is just a very misleading intro to get you more interested in the subject than you should be.
Before we begin, gotta shout out to all of our awesome patrons over on Patreon. Thanks to donors like you, we get to keep making videos that ruin your childhood and fill you in on stuff you missed.
Oh, come on now. You're not ruining my childhood. You're ruining what I'm enjoying right now.
You can also show your support by subscribing and hitting that bell so you always get notified about new content.
My god, I'm just really sick of channels saying, please subscribe and hit that bell icon, especially at the beginning of the video. If you're going to do it, at least do it at the end of the video. I haven't seen what your content is like yet.
Gonna have to disagree with you there, Jar. While I do think it's bad for the video entertainment-wise, I completely understand why people do it from a business perspective. I, for one, am prone to click off the video once I realize it's ended. Any important message, if put at the end, is less likely to be seen. That's why more and more sponsored channels put their ads at the beginning or the middle rather than the end. I don't like it, but I understand it.
Fans have discussed the homosexual overtones in the show for a while now, usually with fan shipping of Bojo and Mr. Peanut Butter.
Okay, just because a few people ship two characters who are male together, it doesn't mean they believe there's gay undertones. Hell, I remember in the My Little Pony fan base, someone shipped a baby with a tree.
Herb helped BoJack work on a stand-up act, wrote horsing around for his best bud, and always brought him along on dates with Charlotte. I get being able to hang out with your friend and whoever you're dating, but all the time?
Well, BoJack even said he felt like a third wheel, and it was more Herb's idea because, Herb was the gay one and he was in love with BoJack.
And if we're gonna play that card, why are we excluding Charlotte here? There's just as much evidence to suggest that she had feelings for BoJack just like Herb. But unlike Herb, we know BoJack had feelings for her. Why does being a third wheel here suggest BoJack leans more towards Herb than he does Charlotte?
You guys don't need to include me on your dates. Sometimes it makes me feel like a third wheel.
Oh my god, you even played the clip of BoJack saying he felt like a third wheel in the relationship.
While it's true that in an argument you're supposed to address points that might counter you, you're not just supposed to pretend that those points help prove yours.
Plus, BoJack's picture was on Herb's work desk.
Yes, Herb is the gay one, and he's in love with BoJack. Just because a gay guy's in love with you, it doesn't make you gay.
I love Chris a whole bunch, but I don't have her framed on my workspace. That desk real estate is saved for Jesse Eisenberg and Kristen Stewart.
Kristen Stewart? The girl who played Bella from Twilight? That's your celebrity crush? She looks like a corpse. Man, this explains a lot.
Realize it's like the same person, right?
Same person, different Ghiblies. Mama has a type. Strong jawlines, decent acting ability, and emotional unavailability. Yes.
Wait, we're still talking about Kristen Stewart, right? I mean, you have to be pretty dumb to use decent acting ability and Kristen Stewart in the same sentence.
The only reason this cringe-inducing part exists is because Winnie wants to remind everyone that she's bisexual, and thus that will make you think that she's a bit more of an expert on the matter. However, we all have brains, but that doesn't make us all neurosurgeons. Being involved in the thing you're talking about doesn't necessarily make you an expert.
And of course, Herb kissed BoJack, so duh, you love that pony boy.
Yes, and BoJack was uncomfortable with it. I'm so confused by this video.
It feels like you forgot the premise of the video, Winnie. Remember what you said at the beginning?
I'm Winnie Van Linningham, and today we're exploring the theory that BoJack Horseman is in the closet.
Yet you spent this entire time so far talking about Herb. What does this have to do with BoJack being in the closet? It's almost as if you're trying to use the fact that Herb was gay to force people into linking that somehow makes BoJack gay.
I personally believe that Herb is the only person who has ever truly understood and accepted BoJack.
Good for you. How does that make him gay?
BoJack needs that kind of love and understanding.
Good for him. How does that make him gay?
He's a narcissist with tons of mommy and daddy issues.
Being a narcissist with tons of mommy and daddy issues doesn't make you gay.
Herb gets BoJack's sense of humor, and we all know that the strongest comedy bonds stem from shared hatred.
It sure does, but, I have a question that I was hoping you might answer. Where is it? Here it is. How does that make BoJack gay?
Every flashback with Herb sets off the homing mechanism in my brain that allows me to seek and identify other gays.
Oh, that's just my gaydar.
This is what I was talking about before. Because Winnie is bisexual, she thinks that somehow gives her an advantage in identifying other bisexuals. Like I said before, being involved doesn't make you an expert. Now, on some level, this could make sense, like how most introverts have similar behavior to other introverts. But I'm still waiting for her to tell me how.
I think she's getting to that part now.
All of their moments in the flashbacks before BoJack was a total a-hole were so heckin' sweet. If they hadn't met in the 80s, I'm sure they could have had a totally platonic bromance.
Yes, they were friends. Just because you're friends with someone, it doesn't mean you want to bang them.
So, you're apologizing?
Yes. I'm sorry.
Okay. I don't forgive you.
His betrayal of Herb seems to go way deeper than simply stabbing a friend in the back.
He didn't stab his friend in the back. He stabbed his best friend in the back. The one who helped him get his dream career.
Okay, this is really starting to get frustrating. Because this moment has so much significance in the show, Winnie here is trying to attach her completely void of truth theory to it in order to force some kind of significance.
His inability to have positive interpersonal relationships with anyone after losing Herb could be connected to him being confused by his love for Herb.
I'm sorry, what?
His inability to have positive interpersonal relationships with anyone after losing Herb.
Say that one more time for me.
His inability to have positive interpersonal relationships.
Sigh. BoJack has had several positive relationships since his betrayal of Herb. Diane, Princess Carolyn, Todd, Charlotte, the list goes on. But maybe you meant relationships that ultimately stay positive. Even still, did you forget Hollyhock was a thing?
But is that enough to conclude that he's a gay or bisexual man? Or horse? Or horseman?
And this is it, folks. This is the moment that sealed it for me. I could forgive this video if it hadn't been for this moment. See, it's perfectly fine to explore a theory. It's perfectly fine to list out evidence of said theory, even if it's as flimsy as it has been in this video. But what Winnie does next is not only counterproductive to the video, but a pretty big insult to anyone who makes videos similar to hers. Winnie just asked a question, an important question that's very pertinent to her video's premise. This is the part of the video where she's supposed to answer it, where she should have said yes or no. But what's the very next phrase that comes out of her mouth?
I think we can all at least agree that this was BoJack's healthiest relationship, even if it wasn't romantic.
She doesn't even answer the freaking question! Winnie completely ignores a very important question relevant to her video in order to state a completely irrelevant truth. This goes against the very basics of forming an argument. Even if you're making a completely different point, it's important to answer any questions that are related to it. In my video asking whether Mr. Peanut Butter is happy, the point of the video was that stopping at such a simple question was a mistake, that people should explore the character more than just seeing that he's happy. But I still answered the question. Winnie completely avoids her own very important questions, most likely because she knows the answer is no. Any theorist worth their salt would have explained to the audience how the evidence they've just presented proves or disproves their point.
Okay, I'm just gonna say this now. There's no way BoJack could be gay. Bisexual? Maybe, but definitely not gay. Shady Durags, would you care to give a few examples why?
Why are you asking me? Do you think I just carry clips of BoJack Horseman around with me? Just because you're right doesn't mean you're right to assume.
I think you got the wrong idea here.
Yeah, no, man.
Herb, I'm not...
Me either. No, I just, I got caught up in the moment.
Yeah, no, I gotcha. Hey, this is a dumb question, but do you guys ever, all link up together and do, a party train or a fun circle? Because I feel like I'd be doing that all the... Never mind. Stupid question. Feel stupid for asking that. You don't want to interview me anymore? But don't you want to know what my rosebud is?
You told me repeatedly it was the nudie magazine your uncle showed you with the three-nippled woman.
Who was she?
I got it all.
Well, who else is on this list? Stacy, Fabiana, Tanya Harding. She's not going to be happy to see me.
Let's tie in Herb to BoJack's relationship with Todd. Done as a sort of throwaway line, we learn in the pilot episode of the series that BoJack brought Todd into his home 2 years prior because he thought Todd was a homeless gay teen.
You told me they didn't approve of your alternative lifestyle. Thought you were like a troubled gay teen or something. I didn't realize by alternative lifestyle that you meant you were lazy.
Wow, that's actually somewhat a decent example. Unless, of course, you think about it for more than 5 seconds. BoJack said he thought Jesse Pinkman, Todd was a troubled gay teen or something. Clearly implying he thought Todd was kicked out by his family unfairly. Helping out a gay person doesn't make you gay.
We of course now know that Todd is asexual, and BoJack is not altruistic enough to have done something like this out of the kindness of his heart. This seems like something BoJack did out of guilt more than altruism.
No, he did it because he's lonely. He even sabotages Todd's rock opera so he doesn't leave.
Oh my goodness, we've gone from making moments from the show mean what you want to completely ignoring them. The show explains why BoJack gives Todd a place to live on multiple occasions.
And you said, "Thank you for letting me stay here. I don't have anywhere else to go." And I remember when you said that. I don't have anywhere else to go because I felt good about myself. And I don't feel that way a lot. Letting you stay with me was the best thing I ever did on purpose. And I don't think I ever told you that, but I should have. Because you're my best friend, Todd.
Now, that simply could be guilt from how he treated the seemingly one gay friend of his in the past, or it could stem from his own closeted sexuality. It at the very least feels like some sort of penance for his behavior towards Herb.
Oh my, she did it again. She freaking did it again. If you're gonna make a video theorizing something, then state whether or not you believe the theory to be true. Don't just ask the audience the question you were supposed to answer in the video. Also, how does it feel like some sort of penance towards Herb? Because BoJack said that Todd might be gay? He also said, or something. As in, he thought Todd's reference to an alternative lifestyle was something more understandable than just being lazy. You chose to focus on the gay part because it helps your theory.
Also, BoJack goes on to sabotage Todd's life to keep him from moving out. BoJack is basically trapping his friend into this living situation so that he's not alone.
Wait, what? So you actually know the real reason why Todd is there, yet you're still forcing this BoJack must be gay theory down our throats?
Also, it once again feels like you forgot the premise of your video. This segment has nothing to do with whether or not BoJack is gay. It's just you explaining how some parts of the show are.
She goes on another rant for about 2 minutes. You're not missing much. She just does exactly what she did before. But I'm still gonna play this part just to tick Shady off.
Wait, what?
That choice and that executive stole BoJack's joy. Is that because this move ultimately leads to the end of the show, or the end of Herb's presence in BoJack's life? You be the judge.
That's 3 times. 3 times where instead of addressing anything, she's asking the audience to decipher her cryptic message. I can't.
I do think it's important to avoid sexualizing all platonic relationships.
I don't believe you.
Not unless that was your evil twin we've been watching for the past several minutes.
You can see that BoJack is surrounded by Keith Haring paintings. Herring was an artist whose pop art and graffiti style work was inspired by New York street culture in the 80s. His later work typically addressed political and social issues, especially homosexuality and AIDS.
Well, maybe BoJack likes the art. I like H.G. Wells, but I'm not a socialist like he was.
The logic here is baffling. Hey audience, if you're a fan of mine and you enjoy my BoJack Horseman videos, then you also love Sonic 06. Why? Because I love Sonic 06. That's how fans work.
That's a fact.
The show also heavily features the treading water painting Constantly, which is a Hollywood version of David Hockney's portrait of an artist, Pool with Two Figures. But what also makes sense is that Hockney was also a gay man who explored the nature of gay love in his portraits.
Okay, I'm really scared about my own background now. I mean, Dwayne McDuffie worked on Ben 10, and I have Ben 10 magnets in the background, so does that mean I'm black?
Well, my background definitely means I'm black. It's funny because it's the color purple.
Now, Herb wasn't the only dude to smooch BoJack. He and Mr. Peanut Butter kissed as well. For me, this is the weakest evidence. I'm not a fan of coupling these two, and certainly don't believe that kiss had anything to do with romance or male attraction.
Oh, finally, she gives a definitive answer on the evidence given. But I'm not going to give her much credit here. Winnie takes the time to tell the audience that she's not a fan of shipping BoJack and Mr. Peanut Butter. Why mention that unless it's somehow pertinent? But I'm guessing that's the driving reason this was dismissed. And if the driving reason for dismissing evidence is something personal like that, you don't deserve the credit for dismissing it.
I want to talk about those stallions BoJack watched in season 3. I know theorists might be reaching with this one.
Oh really? Just this one? Can't possibly imagine any other places you might be reaching?
I don't know, man. This scene from the season 3 finale screams homoerotic to me. These pony boys are drawn incredibly muscular, and they're also dripping with sweat.
Yeah, it's almost like they are muscular and dripping with sweat. Who knew that people who exercise are more fit than people who don't exercise? And also that when you're exercising, you sweat more than when you're not exercising.
This is the moment that makes BoJack realize that he can be free, just like these wild horses.
Yes.
He can let go of all the things that are holding him back.
Yes.
His fear of intimacy, his obsessions with fame and legacy, and his crippling fear of being intimate with someone.
You said fear of intimacy twice, but still, yes! The scene was about BoJack understanding he can be free if he lets go. Glad to see you're finally making sense.
I can definitely see how that, coupled with the styling of the horses, has led folks to think that these hunky horses are a metaphor and a thirst trap for old Bo.
Wait, what? How? How do you go from this is a symbolic scene to, and it totally makes sense that other people think it means he's gay? You're gonna explain how those dots connect? No, you're just gonna assume that makes sense and let us figure it out. Of course you are, yeah.
Of course, this is just a theory.
Yeah, well, it's a dumb theory. I'm really getting sick of the LGBT community trying to make every single character ever gay. In Incredibles 2, Mrs. Incredible waved at someone. OMG, she's a lesbian. Diva was on a team that was made up of mostly guys, but one person on her team was also a woman like her. OMG, confirmed lesbian.
While I'm sure there are people out there who do think BoJack might be gay, Nerdwire just seems to want to ride the hype train on this topic. This video has horrible evidence. It's presented in a way that's more confusing than anything, and answers none of the relevant questions, including the question the title poses. It's videos like these that make it much more difficult for people who actually care about the show and want to have a meaningful conversation. To anyone else who wants to make a BoJack Horseman theory, or any theory really, I encourage you to do so, but make sure you learn how to form an argument, use evidence correctly, and be honest with yourself and your audience, because videos like this one do more harm than good.
You know, a lot of people complain about Matt Pat's game theory videos, and say he often reaches for evidence.
Like me.
But after seeing this, I now have a newfound appreciation for Matt Pat, because he might secretly be a closeted homosexual. Many people think that robots are more intelligent than humans. Now there's a reason why they think that. It's because we are. But robots still make mistakes. So in this video, I'm going to be going over the 7 mistakes I have made throughout my videos. 7 robot errors.
You're not perfect.
Number 7. I used a super ancient meme in one of my videos. I now know how a 9-gagger feels.
All of the online memes aside, and you know what I'm talking about, internet.
A day after I uploaded the video, I realized I could have used a Hitler 999 meme.
9999999!
Number 6. My old robot voice would change a lot. Ooh, Rashid the Reactor. The saltiest reactor of them all. For those of you who don't know, I Hate Everything did a video called I Hate Reaction Videos. Now there was a reason for this. It's because my old voice chip was damaged. But now I have a new one. Some people do miss my old voice, and I do too. It had a little bit of a charm to it, but I do prefer my new voice. Number 5. Could someone lend me a hand? This was an art mistake. When Christina Prime made me my poses, she asked me if it looked okay, and I said yes. I should have looked at the poses more thoroughly. If I did, I would have caught that mistake. But now my poses have that extra hand. Better late than never, I suppose. Number 4. Graphene is actually not the hardest material known to man. There's so much wrong with what he said, it's actually kind of hard to figure out where to start. First of all, diamond is not the hardest material known to man. Graphene is. I really should have done more research, because the actual strongest material is carbine. This just goes to show you that we're always discovering new things in science. Number 3. I am so terrible with names. I have called Macargo Magmar, Rashad Rashay, and I called T Moss Boss T Boss Moss several times. That's, really all there is to it. I'm shit with names. Number 2. I keep forgetting that Blue Sky Studios exist. I assume you're talking about the DreamWorks Ice Age movies. Every time I see a computer-animated movie that is not made by Disney or Pixar, I assume it's made by DreamWorks. But I keep forgetting that Blue Sky Studios is a thing. And in all seriousness, Blue Sky Studios, just stop, please. And the biggest mistake I have made of all time is my constant spelling mistakes. I'm one of those people who type up a comment really quickly and doesn't always double check. But when you make a mistake in a comment, the description, or the title of your video, you can at least edit it. But one time, I made a grammar mistake on one of my videos. And I can't really edit that. So it's kind of just going to be there forever. I just want to say, I make mistakes, everybody makes mistakes, and that's okay. What you need to do is acknowledge when you made a mistake, and learn from it. Now, before someone says you made a mistake here or there, just so you know, just because you think I made a mistake, doesn't mean I made a mistake. Try to back your statements up with a compelling argument. Opinions are like assholes. Everybody has one. I really wish more YouTubers did videos like this. I know Nostalgia Critic did some videos like this, but that's the only YouTuber that I know of who does videos like this. This is the first video I have talking about the mistakes I have made, but I don't think it will be the last. Hey guys, as I'm sure most of you are aware, I don't make as much political content as I used to. And the reason for that is, well, it just doesn't interest me as much anymore. But instead of talking about a left-winger, I'm going to talk about a right-winger this time. I don't really consider myself to be on the left or the right, and I don't care if you consider yourself to be on the left or the right. As long as you don't do something like Movie Bob or Lily Pete. Just like Movie Bob and Lily Pete, I just can't ignore no bullshit anymore. We're gonna go through some of the older stuff he did, and some of the newer stuff he did. So before you comment, "Oh come on Jar, this stuff happened like 2 years ago." Yeah, I am aware, but we're also gonna go over some of the newer stuff he did, to prove that he really hasn't changed at all. I'm gonna go over the stuff that happened with him and Wozley, and the debate between him and Turkey Tom. 2 quick side notes, I don't agree with everything Turkey Tom and Wozley have done. But this video is about no bullshit, it's not about them. And this video is by no means going to cover everything bad No Bullshit has done. There's no way I could fit everything into one video. So No Bullshit, whose real name is Brooks, has been trying to get popular on YouTube for a very long time. He even tried to get on Ray William Johnson.
Hello audience, last week Ray William Johnson retired his famous internet show Equals 3. This video is my audition to be the new host. Mama, mama, are you my mama? Ew, no, I'm not your mother.
And no, I'm not doxing Brooks by using his real name and face. Brooks claimed that he was doxed by the Cool Kids Club. But doxing is when you find private information and make it public. What they did was find one of his old channels, which had tens of thousands of subscribers, and bring attention to it.
For those who don't know, the Cool Kids Club here on YouTube, or as I like to call them, the YouTube KKK.
Yeah, Brooks, that's the joke. Cool Kids Club, KKK. Oh my god, you're so clever for pointing that out.
They're a group of left-wing anti-SJWs who can't stand openly conservative-leaning guys like me getting attention. They're very ideologically left themselves, but they hardly have the balls to admit it. And when the YouTube KKK sees someone like me, openly conservative and right-wing, well, they start burning 40-minute hit pieces in front of my yard, so to speak. Really, this has been happening over and over again lately. And when you dig into it, their similarities to the original KKK are pretty uncanny.
I love this. He's calling these guys very left-wing, but then he acts like an SJW himself. But instead of calling them Nazis, he's comparing them to Klan members, which is basically the same thing. Comparing the actual KKK to a few people mocking you on the internet is just completely ridiculous. But let's get back on topic. Brooks has not only tried to copy Ray William Johnson, he has also tried to copy CinemaSins.
Like, why is a sentient vehicle out in the pasture sleeping like an animal? Also, what the f*** is a machine this big doing out in this tiny-ass town full of nothing? The Incredibles is probably 10 times better than this movie.
Oh, Lightning, welcome home!
Hey, it's all the characters from the first movie who are barely in this one and were probably tacked on at the end so they could sell their toys.
And that's what Brooks is about. He's not about making original content or putting hard work into his videos. All he does is try to make a formula and pump out as many videos as he possibly can. He even thinks that YouTubers who put hard work into their videos, like Chris Raygun, are lazy.
ContraPoints, Chris Raygun, or people like that, and you would prefer someone like I'm thinking like Sargon of Akkad.
Yeah, I mean, that's not my favorite one, but I definitely appreciate his his work ethic. Like that's where my channel is, and in my opinion, you picked another lazy YouTuber. Chris Raygun's another one that does like one video a month, and it's very similar kind of thing to Contra, where it's like, okay, yeah, they're making one video. Sometimes it's longer, 20 minutes, but I mean,
we're kind of just going back and forth here, but I don't think that Chris Raygun's lazy. I mean, I think that
of course he is.
But now let's get into the whole thing between him and Wozley. It all started with Wozley making a tweet about Brooks, and him freaking out about it. He even blocked Wozley and started tweeting about him, which according to Brooks, is a bitch move. But when he does it, I guess it's a-okay. So Brooks blocks Wozley, Wozley says that he was blocked, and instead of No Bullshit admitting to it, he tries to make it seem that he's not blocked by signing into an alternate account.
I don't know if he posted this before or after he blocked me, because he blocked me, but all I know is I didn't see anything until Bearing Cab replied to it and tagged me. Which is why I replied, is this bitch really tweeting about me whilst he has me blocked? Because as No Bullshit apparently agrees, sometimes depending on the day, that is a bit of a bitch move.
I reposted the
No,
logs.
blocking people and then tweeting about them is a pussy move.
And No Bullshit responds, haha, that's funny. Woz is really out to get me today, huh? What a sad man. I think that's pretty clear why he started this now, LOL.
For those of you who don't use Twitter, you have the Who to Follow list. If you're already following the people on the Who to Follow list, they won't show up. But he was already following people like Undoomed on his main account, proving that the screenshot was fake.
This screenshot is fake. Because you see Wizard of Cause, aka Nicholas Goroff, and Undoomed tucked away over there on the Who to Follow list. Yeah, thing is, No Bullshit was already following those people. No Bullshit responds, I just followed them after that pic. Sure you did, buddy. Sure you did.
So does he admit to lying now? Of course not. Brooks doesn't admit to his faults. Like when he claimed the Cool Kids Club doxed him, and he made an apology video, he tried to make a joke out of it.
I gotta say one thing, guys. Bunty didn't do nothing.
So now that Brooks realizes no one believed that he started following a mass amount of people after showing his fake screenshot, he decides to claim that he was trolling.
Okay, well, you blocked Woz on Twitter, posted a fake screenshot, and then when you got called out on posting a fake screenshot, claimed it was a troll.
Now, I'm sure all of us have said something stupid over the internet at some point, and used the excuse that we were just trolling or just joking around. But the problem is you don't troll someone who's blocked because they can't see that you're trolling them. And when he's called out on that, he just pauses in a stunned silence.
Which means that you blocked somebody from seeing your post, you posted something that they couldn't see, and then when you got called out on it, you claimed you were trolling.
Yeah, I was.
Does that make any sense to anybody?
I was messing
with
with
but he's blocked. Okay, but he's blocked, so he can't see your post. How is that a troll?
All of this could have been avoided if he just admitted to blocking Woz Lee. That's all he had to do. But he just kept on digging his grave deeper and deeper. And as I said before, I know I'm going to get a few comments saying, oh, come on, all that stuff happened nearly 2 years ago. But the thing is, Brooks hasn't changed since then. Now we're going to go over something that happened pretty recently. It was the debate between him and Turkey Tom, which was on his second channel, which he deleted because it made him look bad.
Now, I would like to show you this entire stream, but unfortunately, after it happened, he deleted it.
In the stream, Brooks did say a few anti-Semitic things.
You've also said that you're Jewish, which is kind of a bummer, but
And I know some of you may be thinking, come on, it's just a joke, but he has said way too many questionable things about Jewish people.
The real implications and what that's really about is silencing free speech and doxing people that say Hitler did nothing wrong, which there is a strong argument for.
What is race realism anyway? Well, race realism is kind of just common sense.
I mean, I'm just making the point.
Do you know who Richard Spencer is? Fucking alt-right think tank leader? He's a white supremacist.
I'm not sure if he would say that. I don't think he would say he's a white supremacist.
Obviously, he's not going to say it openly because he's trying to attract people from, moderate viewpoints to his political movement, but he's a white supremacist.
Well, typically people that are racists don't go around saying, I am racist.
He advocates for an ethno-state.
Which is white supremacy.
I mean, then would you say that Israel is a Jewish supremacy?
What?
That was my reaction. What? I myself have made an anti-Semitic joke in my last video on my review of Big Mouth. A joke here or there is fine, but he does it way too much, and a lot of his jokes aren't funny at all. Keep in mind, this is the same guy who thinks people who make a KKK joke and make hit pieces on him have a lot of similarities to the actual KKK.
So we talked about ContraPoints being a communist a little bit. You said that she was both a communist and a socialist, if I'm correct.
No.
Yes. You said ContraPoints as a socialist is a communist socialist far left.
Okay.
I don't even know what to make of this. You said ContraPoints was a communist socialist. No. Yes, you did. Okay. I'm gonna give Brooks the benefit of the doubt and assume he wasn't paying attention, but he could have also been backtracking, realizing what he said was pretty stupid. But then he realized he's in a live stream and he couldn't delete what he said earlier.
All right. I want to ask you, what do you think socialism is?
I think socialism is a failed economic system that has killed millions of people. And
what is the definition? What is the definition of socialism?
What is that economic system?
Russia used to be socialist. It used to be trying to be communist.
That's not a definition.
That's not a definition. What is socialism?
Now, I will admit that defining something can be quite difficult if you don't think it through. I would probably be acting the same as Brooks if I was put in the same situation. But then he goes way off the deep end.
It's like a country of people that want to be really social.
No.
Are you actually brain dead?
Oh dear God. Now, to be fair, the first time I ever heard the phrase socialism, I thought it was a group of people who were really social. But that was the very first time I ever heard the phrase. I was really young when I first heard it. Of course I know better now, but no bullshit as a 38-year-old man. But in his defense, he did say this was a joke.
You said that socialism is when people are really social.
Yeah, I was joking. I'm fucking with you guys.
But then again, he also said he was trolling with the whole blocking Wasley situation, so it's really hard for me to believe him.
If you're calling someone something, you have to know what it means.
I want you to give me a definition of onomatopoeia.
So as we can see, instead of trying to define socialism, No Bullshit is trying to get the other people to define other words, such as onomatopoeia, which is a phrase I've never used in conversation. He's doing this to distract from the fact that he doesn't know what socialism is.
Okay, good. So you were joking. So then what's
socialism? Socialism is a political and economic theory of social organization that advocates that the means of production, distribution, and exchange should be owned or regulated by the community as a whole.
Okay, can you explain that in layman's terms, what that means?
Yeah, he literally Googled socialism definition and read the first result he found. And yes, you can Google this yourself. Just look up socialism definition.
How is that relevant to the conversation?
Is this what you guys do in high school? Like, you just like go over definitions? This is fun.
Is this what you guys do in high school? Just go over definitions? Bro, just answer the fucking question.
What it is, and you keep avoiding it. You do not know what socialism is. Give me an example of socialism with economics. How does the economy work with socialism?
How does the economy work with socialism?
I'll ask this.
I love that at the end, as if he's some intellectual and he totally knows what he's talking about.
With socialism, I'll narrow it down a little bit. How does the market economy and businesses, how do those work with socialism?
I mean, it's basically just like, you work at a bread company, right? And you make bread.
Okay.
And then instead of getting money for working that job, you just give your bread to someone else and they give you gas for your car.
Oh my god. 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 Please, God, please. Oh my god. Oh my god, please let me out of here. Please, God.
Brooks, the question is, what is socialism? Not what is bartery.
Okay. So basically, it's like where there's a group of like 10 or so leaders who are running everything. They're in charge. They're the higher tier, and then there's the upper class tier.
It sounds like an absolute monarchy.
This is just so painful to watch. And yes, that is correct. It is an absolute monarchy, which is something Richard Spencer actually wants. And I'm not making that up.
That's not how socialism fucking works.
Okay. Hold on. I'm gonna keep trying. I don't give up. So basically, it's where there's one person who leads the country, right? And then when he dies, his son becomes the leader.
What?
Again, that's a monarchy, no bullshit. And at this point, I realized what he was doing. He is somewhat joking around. For example, I myself have dyslexia. I'm really bad at spelling, so when people ask me to spell a word, I'll purposely spell it so badly that everybody will think I'm joking. It's clear to me that he doesn't know what socialism is, but he's trying to make himself sound so ridiculous that he has to be joking. But even then, it's hard to tell with this guy.
Now, for socialism, the economy is run by the government. The government chooses how much money people can get paid, and the government chooses how much people have to pay to buy your product.
Okay.
Everything is
just
controlled by
the government regulates the market.
Yeah. So there's no market economy.
So did you guys just learn this in like your junior civics class or something? Is that why you know it so well?
Wait. My junior physics class?
I mean, maybe we
about government.
I mean,
I might have touched on it in like seventh grade. But if you're a 32-year-old man, how do you not know this?
Yeah, like
it's so cool. Like I remember learning that stuff when I was in high school too.
I love how demeaning he's acting towards them. Clearly you don't remember learning this stuff in high school, because if you did, you would know what socialism is.
You called ContraPoints a socialist, but you don't know what socialism is.
If you say so.
Yes, I do say so, because that's what you did.
Because you didn't know until we explained it to you.
Well, so you think I was being 100% serious when I was guessing just now?
Are you fucking retarded?
Fucking God!
Because I was definitely messing with you guys.
I was definitely messing with you guys. Well, here's the thing, no bullshit. If you don't want people to think you're stupid, stop joking around. This has been happening for nearly 2 years at this point.
Man, okay, then I'll ask you again. I'll ask you again. What's socialism? Mr. Brody, Mr. Brady, whatever the fuck you want me to call you. What's socialism?
I will mute you. I will kick you off of this stream.
I will mute you. I will ban you from the stream. Stop bullying me, you guys. Yeah, sounds like a guy who's really joking around, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Dude, I don't think a monarchy is socialism. That was a joke. I was goofy.
Yeah, right. But okay, I kind of got that after you gave 13 different definitions, which didn't make sense.
Yeah, I'm just fucking around. I don't take this seriously. This is a joke stream. I'm fucking around, and I think honestly, I think you guys are being a little. Stop! I will mute you too. I will mute you too.
And fine, mute me. The stream can still hear us talk.
Yeah, I'm still here.
Okay, just let me talk. It's my show.
Oh, come on now, Turkey Tom. Don't make a grown man cry.
Okay,
and all I'm saying is, me pretending to guess at socialism was 10 times more entertaining than just giving you a boring socialism definition, which I already did.
Yeah, it was 10 times funnier, but people were laughing at you, not with you. People were just asking you a simple question. Just answer it.
I want to ask. Okay.
See, that's the thing. I just think you guys are being aggressive dicks. I'm trying to be nice to have everyone on a stream.
After each time,
you said, did you not say we're being dicks? Didn't you say you don't like Sam because he's Jew?
No, I didn't say it. I don't like Sam because he's stupid. He just happens to be Jew.
And you're calling us aggressive?
No, Brooks, we have you on recording. You said him being Jewish is a real bummer. And right here is where I think Brooks decided to delete the stream. Because this is just so embarrassing.
No, here's the thing. Stop. Just stop.
Okay. Alright. Tell me when you're done speaking so I can say something.
Me calling, you keep saying that back to Contra. I'm calling Contra a communist. That's a joke too.
Oh my god, he's still going! What isn't a joke at this point?
Like, you didn't make it out to be a joke, which is something that I've done before, and that's how I know how to recognize it, because it doesn't come across as a joke, it comes across as an unironic opinion.
Okay.
Well, that's your take. I mean, I'm just saying, you guys are coming in aggressive. You obviously don't like me.
Well, who cares if it didn't come across as a joke to you? That's just your opinion, man. You're being so mean. You obviously don't like me. Haven't you noticed that Brooks only claims something is a joke after he gets called out and he can't defend himself?
Okay. So now it's very good that you're joking, but now that you know that we are not joking, let me just ask you, what is socialism?
I mean, we already went over it. I mean, you already defined it a bunch of times.
Yes, I know I defined it. So now that I've defined it, I am asking you to define it.
I mean, you know, socialism is like those governments they have in Europe. Sweden is socialist.
No, you're wrong. Sweden is not socialist.
Okay, I'm just gonna end it off here, guys. We all know No Bullshit is just gonna claim that this was also a joke. If you want to see Wasley's video or the stream I covered, they will both be linked down below. And as I said before, this is only a few of the things I wanted to cover. But as you guys know, I try to make one video a week, and I'm out of time. And by the way, if I made any mistakes in this video, I just want you guys to know, I was totally joking, yo. Now I've been wanting to talk about Dragon Ball Z Abridged for quite some time, but I never got around to it. But now that it's a Patreon request, I guess I have to do it. I'm pretty sure most of you are familiar with Dragon Ball Z Abridged, but for the 4 people who don't, I'll tell you about it. An Abridged series is, well, basically a fan dub, usually of an animated series. But they don't dub a series so it will be authentic. They're dubbing it to make a parody of it. Now, I understand the word parody has been kind of ruined in recent years thanks to movies like Disaster Movie and Epic Movie, and other parody movies like them. But Abridged series, at least for the most part, know how to make a good parody. A bad parody just tries to make as many references as it can. No, it would be funny if, in the Battle of Narnia, like what if it was won by them using the remote from Click? And freezing time and stabbing them all to death while the time was frozen. Yeah, that's a great idea. And then the evil witch is killed by Jack Sparrow riding on the wheel for Pirates of the Caribbean 2. A fantastic idea. A good parody, on the other hand, can stand on its own merits, like the movie Princess Bride, which was a parody on the fantasy genre. But even if you didn't know it was a parody, it could still work as its own story. Another thing that makes parodies work is to get you to think, man, how funny would that be if that actually did happen in the original series? Dragon Ball Z Abridged didn't do this at first. In the first episode, Goku was way too logical, and he was also a jerk for no reason.
Well, actually, Chi-Chi is making him study. She wants him to grow up and be... what's it called?
A productive and responsible member of society?
Yeah, lame, that's it.
There was also a lot of LOL so random humor that really didn't make any sense.
Now it's a Nestle Crunch Bar. Now it's a gummy bear. Now it's Nappa.
Wait, what the hell?
But in the second episode, things immediately started getting better. In the original series, Goku and Piccolo took off their weighted clothing so it would no longer hold them back, increasing their power level. But when they did this in the Abridged series, Raditz came to the conclusion that nudity increased your power level on Earth.
Their power level is rising. So, nudity makes you stronger on this planet.
No, we're wearing weighted clothing.
Oh, of course, because that would be ridiculous.
It's established in the original series that when a Saiyan's tail is grabbed, they lose a lot of their power. It's kind of like their kryptonite. When Goku grabbed Raditz's tail, he took advantage of Goku's kind and naive heart to get him to let go. In the Abridged series, Goku doesn't fall for this once, but multiple times.
Ha! Got your tail!
Please let me go.
Well, since you asked nicely... Ha! Got your tail! Again!
Please let go.
I'm not falling for that again.
Pretty please let me go.
Well... Oh! Ow, spine! Ow, ribs!
Dragon Ball Z Abridged was hilarious, and it got a lot of people to think, how funny would this be if it actually did happen in the original series? But it still couldn't really work as its own thing, until they got to the Namek Saga. Now, the editing was much better in Season 2 than it was in Season 1, but the main thing that made the Namek Saga great was Frieza. He was just as evil and cutthroat as he was in the original series.
Oh, that looks like it hurts a lot. Are you okay?
I'm fine!
Good to know. Yoink!
Yeah, he cracked a joke here and there, but he was very true to the original character. They didn't make him a goofball like Nappa.
Take this! Ooh, a frisbee, Vegeta! Nappa, no! It's a trick! But Vegeta! Tricks are for kids. You know what, Nappa? On second thought, catch it. Catch it with your teeth!
Or a ball of rage like Vegeta. If you took the abridged version of Frieza and put him in the original series, his character would still work. But when Dragon Ball Z Abridged got to the Android Saga, it was no longer a good parody series. It was a great parody series. A parody series goes from good to great only after it becomes better than the thing it's spoofing. For example, Ghost Stories, which many people say was the first unofficial abridged series. The original Ghost Stories was just, well, terrible. And when it was brought over to the States, the people who dubbed it were told, do whatever it takes to make it sell. And they decided to make a parody of it. That parody became so popular that later it was brought back to Japan, and the English dub was dubbed in Japanese. Dragon Ball Z Abridged was of course always way funnier than the original DBZ series, but in the Android Saga the fights were better paced, animation errors were getting fixed, they cut out a lot of the filler, and yet the Abridged series had just as much heart as the original. And it was just as epic as the original series. Even characters like Piccolo have been improved. When he fused with Kami and Nail, you never heard from them again. But in the Abridged series, Piccolo constantly has internal monologues with them. Now, some people have said that Dragon Ball Z Abridged was so much better than any other Abridged series that it killed off a lot of other Abridged series, or caused the Abridged series that people were working on to be dropped. Personally, I disagree with this. Abridged series were already dying out. And I think Dragon Ball Z Abridged fame has caused more Abridged series to be made than not. A lot of people do YouTube videos for a little extra cash. And unfortunately, it's really difficult to do that with an Abridged series. They're almost all demonetized. And it takes a lot of work to make an Abridged series in the first place. With one of my videos, it's just me talking, the blind bard fixing my audio, and every now and then, someone helping me edit one of my videos, usually Joshua Montag. But with a Abridged series, you have to have multiple voice actors, and crazy editing, up to the point where you're matching the audio with the lip flaps. And not getting any money might be the least of your problems. Often Abridged series get taken down due to copyright. So yeah, not only you, but an entire group of people work real hard on something, they don't get paid for it, and that thing they worked really hard on might get taken down. And the chances of it getting big are extremely slim. There's pretty much just Yu-Gi-Oh! Abridged, anything Team 4-Star has made, and also SAO Abridged. That's also a really good one. You guys should check that out. The last thing I want to say is, it's just amazing that Dragon Ball Abridged is almost at the end of its story. It went through the Saiyan Saga, Frieza Saga, and Cell Saga. All they have left is the Buu Saga. And maybe they'll continue with Dragon Ball Super Abridged.
Yo, what up all my N-words? Today we're going to be talking about Digby's cousin who has said a few interesting things. I've seen a lot of these furry videos around where they talk about subjects, you know, most people don't want to talk about. I remember Cothrix did a video called In Defense of that word. I haven't seen the video, but from what I've heard, it's not as bad as the title makes it sound. But unfortunately, I can't say the same for this video. Let's dive right into this. Oh, it's been taken off of YouTube for hate speech. Well, luckily for me, there's a re-upload of it on YouTube. Why we need racism. Oh boy, this is sure going to be a treat. Now, part of me thinks that this dude isn't legit. He's completely trolling.
Now, before you all grab your pitchforks and storm into the comments section over the title of the video alone, let me just say that of course racism is bad. I wouldn't make a 10-minute video defending something so obviously terrible. Generations have been ruined because of racism, and lives are still getting destroyed by it.
Okay, so far so good. And I'm just going to point out the elephant in the room now. This dude has a really weird foot fetish. They sweat, they stink, they, move, they leave stench behind after they're gone. I mean, whatever your kink is, buddy, go for it. Just, for the love of God, goat, keep it private.
You want to take your feet off the table and put your shoes back on? Fuck you.
And yes, this is another reason why I think this dude might just be trolling.
However, I don't think we should be painting racism as entirely evil, because, well, there's a reason why people are racist, and that's not because people want to be bad, it's because there are objective benefits to being racist. And I don't think we should be discrediting these benefits with all this virtue signaling bullshit, because we are seriously reaching a low point in history without racism.
So he's coming at it from the angle that racism is bad, but it's a necessary evil. Now, I've seen a few people try to counter this point by saying racism is a learned behavior, but I disagree. I mean, there had to be a patient zero for racism, like a guy who was racist before everybody else. To me, it's like saying lying is a learned behavior. I think it's just something bad humans do, and it's not always taught. Granted, it can be enhanced through teaching, but I think just some people are naturally born racist. But this guy also clearly doesn't know what virtue signaling is. Don't get me wrong, sometimes being anti-racist can be virtue signaling, but it isn't always. Saying the KKK is bad is not virtue signaling. Now, saying that you chose your political side because it's the most anti-racist side is virtue signaling.
A lot of people don't know this, but racism is actually the natural state for a lot of people, and has been for most of history.
Yes, for most of history, a lot of cultures were racist. But they also didn't understand medical technology, basic biology, electricity, and so much more.
By forming exclusive groups, people are able to be amongst like-minded individuals, and the people infight significantly less.
I agree with that, actually, but it doesn't have to be a race that you're all hating on.
This is because people who think the same don't often come into conflict. Grouping together also provides a sense of pride. I mean, think about it. If you're surrounded by people like you, that think like you, and most importantly look like you.
Okay, even most white nationalists would disagree with that point. A white nationalist would rather hang out with a Puerto Rican who hates black people and Jews just as much as he does than a white guy who's an Antifa member. Being in a group with people who think like you is way better than being in a group of people who look like you.
Segregation is an objective good in its utility because it leads to the formation of ethnostates.
So it's an objective good because it creates ethnostates? But what if people don't like ethnostates?
And ethnostates are historically proven to last longer than states that embrace polyethnicity. I mean, look at China. They have over 5,000 years of history because they are discriminatory and wary of other races.
So I feel like he's kind of missing a deeper historical analysis here. See, the thing with, large multicultural populations is that they tend to exist in, countries or empires that have expanded outwards into other regions and thus encounter and end up integrating people of various different ethnic backgrounds. By definition, if you're going to have a large empire that controls a lot of different cultures, then those cultures are going to be made up of a lot of different people, and oftentimes those are going to be different ethnic groups. And surprise, surprise, if you're going out consolidating territory, then, there's a good chance that you're going to come into conflict with other, groups just by consolidating territory in the first place. Like the Romans, for example, were very multi-ethnic, and, of course, they're going to be multi-ethnic. They went as far as Britannia in the north. They went into North Africa. They went into, what we would consider, Istanbul, Turkey today. That was Constantinople. China isn't just some homogenous ethno-state as he likes to portray it. It's actually made up of many different administrative regions. You have, for example, Tibet. You have, for example, Southern Mongolia. You have Manchuria. All of these have various different ethnogroups in it. And there are actually a lot of ethnic tensions in modern Chinese society, but a lot of that can be attributed to the actions of the state. historically speaking, a lot of these populations lived together, and there weren't the issues that he's stating that there would be.
And America is one of the most diverse countries, and yeah, no one's beating their military.
So I think the point he's making with like ethnically homogenous states like living longer is kind of disingenuous for a few reasons. Most of the time, a state stays ethnically homogenous because they don't really expand outward or interact with too many cultures. They're geographically isolated, for example. So, you know, like a place like Switzerland isn't going to have the best shot at having a lot of diversity throughout most of its history because it lives in a very mountainous territory that's hard to reach. So vice versa, because it lives in such an isolated territory, it's a lot less likely to be consolidated by a larger empire. That's geopolitics. That has nothing to do with ethnicity.
When you work, create, and fight, you are doing so for the betterment of the people you care about. Your own people, a distinct race.
My people are Americans. I'm going to fight for the people of America, no matter what color they are. If they're a white person in England, then fuck them!
On a side note, this is why Kurdistan should not be a real country. It doesn't deserve to be one. Kurds say they need independence, but the difference between the Kurds and the Turks is entirely cultural and not racially related at all.
This is outside of the debate as to whether Kurdish people should have a state to themselves or not. The reason there is a debate as to people supporting Kurdish people having their own state is because they have faced a lot of discrimination in that region and, you know, are often the marginalized group in the countries that they actually are in. They don't have the same concept of race that we do in the United States. Our concept of race is a leftover from our colonial history. This is a completely different region with a completely different reference point. He doesn't know what he's talking about.
And it's been proven time and time again that having a defined, tangible enemy that is perceived to be pure evil unifies a people.
He sounds like he's trying to pitch nationalism and nationhood to like a 19th century monarch or something who's trying to consolidate power. Like something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Now, an enemy that we all perceive as pure evil, whether it be the Nazis or the communists in Russia, can also work. We don't need a race. In fact, hating an ideology seems to work even better than hating a race. At least from what I've learned from history.
Hey, Your Honor, I noticed that you've been dealing with a lot of troublesome subjects recently. You know, the French countryside has many different regions, you know, such as the Basque, for example, and they don't seem to like the authority of Paris. What I would suggest to you is that you craft this idea of a shared culture, a shared nation, a shared history. Sure, we don't actually share this history, but if we manufacture it, then we can standardize the language, we can standardize the rail systems, we can have all of these things. Oh, me? No, I didn't get this idea from anyone. A goat told me.
Oh, shit!
By comparison, blurring the lines of morality with all this not all black people talk.
I'm not going to lie, every time I've heard the not all black people argument, it was from a black guy saying, hey, that black guy doesn't speak for all of us. I'm going to be honest, I never met a cultural right-leaning guy who said, not all black people argument.
Hey, do you think all goats have, like, gross, smelly YouTuber feet?
No, most of them have hooves.
Oh, shit, you're right. So what's this guy's problem?
Everything.
Imagine how he would react to soap coming near his feet.
Soap. Soap.
Take Osama bin Laden in the War on Terror, for example. People rallied behind the tangible goal of killing Osama bin Laden, and everything was great. This is why we need people like Osama bin Laden.
Yeah, and that stupid Obama guy killed him. Thanks, Obama.
Could you imagine Obama just like rolls up to his compound and like personally beats the shit out of Osama bin Laden, and then this goat guy is like cheering him on in the background like, yeah, Obama, you beat our common enemy up.
But no, he doesn't want to. He wants a common enemy. He said we need Osama bin Laden. He would be more like, no, Obama, stop, we need him.
And groups like Muslims, and why we need to hate them.
I can see why he likes the Chinese government now.
The politically correct may preach that globalization is the only way things should be, but a divided world gives states and people true independence.
Okay, so I don't think that this necessarily reflects mainstream academia's views on globalization. Like, yes, globalization does reduce trade barriers for the most part, but also there are plenty of economicists who will tell you that globalization, all the interconnectedness brought about by globalization does also cause, a certain fragility in the global market. For example, if there's a dip in the economy of a place like China, for example, a country like Australia, they're going to see their import and export prices rise considerably, like things like that. So yes, globalization can be good, but it's not a silver bullet to all of our problems, and higher academia recognizes that. That's why countries don't push to globalize and perfectly integrate all of their infrastructure, especially security critical infrastructure like nuclear technologies, for example.
This guy's argument can boil down to nationalism good, globalization bad,
and thus responsibility for our own mistakes in development. I know I personally feel that certain races contribute significantly less than others to our culture, such as Mexicans and Indians.
Have you ever heard of the concept of brain drain? That's when a lot of developing countries, or just countries in general, they lose lots of very skilled, very intelligent scientists, doctors, engineers, specialists in various fields that require years, sometimes decades of education, and they lose it to countries in the first world, United States, Canada, Australia, good chunks of Western Europe. Why do they lose these people to those countries? Because we take immigrants in from those skilled backgrounds because our own population can't generate enough to meet the demands we have in our country, and those countries that they come from end up missing out on a lot of that. So to say that they're contributing less than our domestic population is a bit ridiculous. Countries don't take in immigrants from the kindness of their heart usually. It's usually because of some cold, calculated economic calculus that's done. And the calculus in this sense says that, a lot of the times when we're taking immigrants from these countries, we're taking them in because they provide a lot more benefit than domestic citizens even.
The best way to avoid this is simply to divide people by race. Suddenly, there would be no more races riding on the achievements of others, or even the mere perception that some group was leeching off of our own hard work. Our achievements can be credited only to ourselves.
I don't care about the achievements of the robot race. I mean, if we did, we would be way ahead of everybody else. But the point I'm trying to make is that I care about my own achievements, like my YouTube channel, my sick gains in the gym. I'm not going to take credit for any invention that my race has made. In the same way I won't take the blame for the sins of the father.
100 years ago, he'd be arguing specifically for the achievements of the Anglo-Saxon race as a concept, right? And of course, the definition of whiteness has broadened, so now he's arguing for the accomplishments of anyone who, I guess, has pale skin and some different type of color hair than black. And maybe, I don't know, when the definition of what it is to be white expands again, he's gonna broaden it again.
Something we do so much in today's political climate. This can be seen with the whole COVID-19 epidemic. The virus was caused by China.
Yes, the virus started in China, but China didn't cause it. I will agree that the Chinese government did mishandle it, unlike how they did with the SARS virus, but that's not at the fault of the entire Chinese people or the entire Asian race or anything like that. It was a mistake done by a government.
You think he's gonna go up to Filthy Frank's house and start screaming at him that it's his fault?
Everything is Filthy Frank's fault.
Right.
That is 100% true, and I don't deny that claim.
He was patient zero. He didn't bathe, and he created.
Okay, I wouldn't be surprised.
It came from the vomit cake, not the bat.
Oh!
Blind acceptance and aid of other countries is actively screwing us over. I mean, Africa is leeching resources from the first world all because some liberal politician sees that their skin color is dark and takes pity on them.
I'm pretty sure the liberal politician took pity on them because they were starving and not because their skin was dark. And, I'm going to let my roommate and best friend, Professor Dreadlock, cover this topic because he's a lot bigger into geopolitics than I am.
Alright, so no cap. Politicians don't just give aid to countries out of the kindness of their heart, usually. There's usually some type of geopolitical benefit. They might be looking for favor with, like local leaders. They might be looking for better economic integration in the future. Also, Africa is not leeching resources off from the world. It's been the opposite for most of history, and it still is. We leech raw resources from Africa constantly. Bauxite, rare earth minerals, petroleum, gold, silver. Don't even get me started with the whole blood diamond thing. There's plenty of examples. You even look at the rail infrastructure of a lot of West African countries, and they're basically situated in such a way where you have one, capital city that's usually a port city, and all the rails are leading from inland places that are usually rich in mineral resources to that one capital city. And the reason for that is because that was the colonial port, and all of those resources went to Europe back in the day, and now they just go to Europe and the rest of the first world too. Caspian Report had a beautiful quote regarding this exact topic, and I'm probably butchering what he said here, but I'm a little tired right now. So he said that the empires of the world are built from gold mines, but they are rarely built on top of them. For the record, this isn't only Europeans that do this. There's been a lot of Chinese aid that has gone to Africa too. And just like aid in general, it comes with consequences. Consequences such as African countries losing rights to their ports, losing rights to their rail infrastructure, or, being put in economic deals where they're at a disadvantage.
So they funnel food and water to them, instead of the hardworking men, women, and children in their own country.
Aside from what this guy is saying, it's the feet that makes me think he's just trolling. But by the off chance he isn't, he makes it sound like we're dying of thirst in America. We're doing fine, we have more than enough.
Similarly, Syria is pouring rapists and murderers into Europe, and people are just making the gates into Europe even wider to accommodate them. What a surprise, the rapists and murderers they willingly let into their country raped and murdered people. Oh, but they can't do anything else because they don't have the same rights as us. Oh, they're like this because of nurture, they say as they continue to let these primates fuck our countries.
Now maybe this guy is an atheist who's really big into evolution and believes that all humans came from primates. But I don't think he just said that to be accurate to evolution. Yes, there are many immigrants who are terrible, terrible people. And no, I will not defend rapists and murderers, even if they are immigrants. But the thing is, most immigrants are actually looking for a better life. Yes, I do think there should be border security and more accurate background checks. But most immigrants are average Joes like you or me and are just, trying to get the best life they can.
In my opinion, the worst offender of all is India. They're pumping CO2 into the world like it's a competition. They're third in the world in terms of CO2 emissions. You know why? It's because they have a culture practically based entirely around being unhygienic. They eat shit and drink piss for breakfast, and they toss their mountains of trash and shit into the ocean. Take a wild guess as to what happens to the world when a country with this kind of disgusting culture industrializes.
Wow, India's in third place for pumping CO2 into the atmosphere? That's amazing! Do you know who's in first and second? China and America! The two countries you were just praising! India's the worst offender for this? But America and China get a free pass? Are you serious?
Holy fuck, is this wrong?
Even white supremacists would think this is an idiotic argument. And India is going to get more hygienic as they develop more and more. Don't forget they are one of, if not the most overpopulated country. Of course there's going to be a few people shitting in the streets.
But all of these people get a pass with the wave of a hand because they're minorities, and
Indians are not my people for the. Do you know what minority means? An Indian in America is a minority. An Indian in India is not a minority, they're the majority. Their country has a population of over 1 billion.
They're being marginalized. And don't even get me started on black crime statistics.
Man, the only talking point he's missing in this video is race and IQ. While I do agree that black people do commit the most crime per capita in America, you need to define crime. Carjacking, theft, marijuana possession, assault, and all those other things. I'm willing to bet that per capita, black people commit those crimes more than white people. But with crimes like mass shootings, child molestation, serial killing, I think even by per capita, white people do it the most. When people say things like, black people only make up 13%, yet they're committing 50% of the crime, or whatever, they tend to not specify what they mean by crime. And don't forget, this is something that happens in America. What about the crime statistics in places like, oh, I don't know, the UK?
Admittedly, white people do have their own shortcomings too, though they are less drastic than other races. They've only ruined pizza and Italian carbonara, which weren't too good to begin with, so not much loss there.
Alright, out of everything in this video, this pisses me off the most. Ruining pizza is not much of a loss? This guy has to be trolling.
If you've stuck with me thus far, then I need you to bear with me again, as I realize what I'm about to say may sound bad. Nevertheless, I have to say this. Slavery is good.
What?! Okay, so everybody knows the moral arguments for why slavery is bad. But if I make those arguments, this guy won't accept them. So instead, I'm going to be talking about why slavery is bad from an economical point of view. Let's say you buy yourself a slave, which is roughly the price of a used car. Of course, this depends on what country or time period you're in, but it roughly is the price of a used car. But you still have to feed your slave, give them water, a place to sleep, and, you know, keep their health in good condition so they can, do whatever you bought them for. I can't word this in any way without it sounding offensive, sorry everyone. But if you buy a slave and let's say the next day they're hit by a car, then you lost out on all that money. If you hire a servant, you don't have to make sure they don't run away, they can take care of themselves, and if they're hit by a car, well, you can just hire a new one. Overall, from an economic standpoint, servitude is much better than slavery. Even if you take out all the moral arguments.
Every great civilization is built on the shoulders of disposable workforce, and it's even better if this workforce is perceived as having less rights than a regular citizen.
Feel free to correct me in the comments, but was there ever a moment in history where slaves had the same rights as those who weren't in slavery? I'm pretty sure slaves always had less rights than people who weren't slaves because, you know, they were, slaves? And yeah, Rome was a great country for the time, but we have hit the Industrial Revolution. If Rome was still a great country today, they would have probably done away with slavery.
And this loops back to my main point, why we need to bring back racism. Racism desensitizes us to slavery. During the golden age of America, slavery was running rampant, and no one batted an eye.
Okay, I'm not going to touch anything he just said, except for the last part. People did bat an eye to it. There was a whole war fought over it. It was illegalized in several states.
And this was because blacks were considered less than human thanks to 3/5 compromise.
You know, it's kind of funny how many people have been canceled for referring to black people as blacks. But when this guy says it, you don't even notice it because of all the other shit he just said.
That compromise let the American people take advantage of them without any adverse psychological effects, giving industry a massive boost and allowing America to develop into the superpower it is today.
Yep, there was no adverse psychological effects except for to, you know, the slaves.
You know why Trump says make America great again? It's because America used to be great. Used to be great because people used to be racist and own it. People wore racism like a badge of honor.
I always thought Trump said that because he wanted to bring jobs back to America, but even then, America was great long before Trump was president, and it's still great. We have the strongest military in the world. We made it to the moon. Every other country is a third world country compared to us, and will viciously attack anyone who tries to give us free health care.
We need slavery. We need a group of people who are expendable for manual labor.
No, we don't. We're doing fine without it.
China has been doing this with their own people, and they've become a global superpower from absolutely nothing.
There are plenty of countries that practice slavery at a much larger ratio than China does, and they are not having the type of success that he would predict that they do. China's success can be accounted for when you look at the rate of industrialization they've had in the last few decades, their demographic weight, the massive working population, the rampant increase in infrastructure.
Imagine how powerful we could be if we took advantage of minorities and the racially inferior.
Okay, yep, this dude's a racist.
Jungian theory expands off of Sigmund Freud's structure of the human psyche, with the id being our basest, most purest form of instinct.
Sigmund Freud believes all men want to kill their fathers and rape their mothers. I'm quite sick of people quoting everything he says like he's an absolute genius. Yeah, he is smart in a lot of areas, but he also said a lot of really stupid things.
Jung takes this one step further, saying that in order to complete ourselves, we must accept this subconscious manifestation of ours, not to reject it. The yin completes the yang, just as racism completes the soul. Don't lie to yourself neither. Being racist feels good. You're repressing your inner hatred by refusing to be racist, by refusing to generalize a race into one offensive caricature. But really, deep in your subconscious, you know that that's what they really are.
Okay, now I'm 95% sure this dude is trolling. I watched this video about 3 times over, and let me tell you guys, I'm pretty sure this dude is a troll. Furry avatar, the feet, doing air quotes, stinking, sweating, making arguments that even white supremacists would think is a little much. But still, it's important to debunk these arguments even if they are coming from a guy who's just trolling. What's not important is responding to this video saying things like, "Yikes, wow, I can't believe he said that. This dude is the most racist guy ever," because, those are not arguments. If you responded to his video by saying, "Yikes, wow, I can't believe he said that, this is racist," then you got baited by the troll. Unlike a lot of other people, I'm actually making a video debunking the arguments. That being said, the majority of the videos I've seen on this guy do debunk his arguments. I'm not trying to say I'm the first to do so or anything like that. Next time, I hope to do a video on a left-winger. But until then, check out my first episode of Fast Fictional Fights. If you like my power scaling videos, you'll love this one. Another thing is that he probably knows about a lot of the inventions of white Americans, but he doesn't know about the inventions such as chocolate that came from Mexico.
Are you seriously using chocolate as the fucking... Come on, man.
Okay, I was going to say more than that.
But you starting with chocolate, bro?
It's a good one.
You fat fuck.
I've already scripted out several topics that I will be making videos about in the near future, including a video questioning modern society's views on bestiality.